This absolute legend just reincarnated as a lowly servant working for a noble family. Nobody knows his true identity, so they treat him like total garbage. But trust me, we are about to watch the greatest swordmaster of his era absolutely destroy his bullies. After grinding his sword skills for over 70 years, he woke up in a peaceful era where literally everyone is just ridiculously weak compared to him. I mean so weak that he completely humiliated a top-tier imperial guard right in front of the guy's own master. He literally knocked the guy out cold in seconds. The adoptive father and lord of the castle, completely speechless, just staring at him in pure shock. Before this, the original owner was pathetic and rude. But now he is actually training his gorgeous adoptive sister. And he has tons of experience handling beautiful women. Wait, no, I totally mean handling swords. He trains her ruthlessly, not holding back a single strike. Our boy turned into an absolute alpha, and surprisingly, she respects it. In his past life, he guided heroes, grand mages, and martial artists to greatness. He built up massive fame across the world but never claimed it. Feeling completely unworthy, he chose to stay hidden in the shadows. Why? Because he had zero natural talent, just pure passion. Yet right before taking his last breath, he finally broke through to true Swordmaster level. Sadly, it was way too late to use it. But now, he is reincarnated into a fresh young body with endless potential. He has zero clue whose body he just hijacked or even where he is right now. But walking around the massive castle, the architecture looks familiar. He realizes this is probably a territory he actually protected in his past life. Now stick with me here because things get wild. He looks over and spots a stunning girl beside him, pushing herself with a sword. Our guy figures she must be the Lord's daughter, though he definitely does not remember a kid like her from his original timeline. But her stance, it looks exactly like a legendary hero's style. Honestly, she actually seems pretty talented. Suddenly, she catches him staring and calls him Asher. She demands to know why he is just standing around while everyone else is working hard. Our boy just casually asks if she is using Rapina's technique. Judging by her form, she has been grinding for maybe 5 years. But her footwork is still shaky, so he boldly tells her to relax and slow her pace down. Instantly triggered, she literally hurls her training sword right at his head. She snaps, demanding to know why a servant is speaking so casually. Shouldn't he show respect and address her properly as Lady Reika? Asher quickly apologizes. He totally thought this angry girl was his own sister. Still furious, Reika asks why a useless guy who never touches weapons is here, and more importantly, how he even recognized a legendary hero's sword art. Mess up, and he will seriously regret it. Asher inwardly cringes, unable to believe he just tried giving advice to the young lady of the castle. Stepping up to the training dummy, he raises a wooden sword. Reika watches closely, noticing his posture as the basic imperial sword stance. But she is confused, wondering when he learned it, because his aura feels completely different now. Asher just stays dead silent. After all, he has practiced this for 70 years. We both knew this was coming, right? Boom, a massive explosion of power while he realizes this young body is an absolute cheat code. With stamina and strength like this, he can literally pull off any crazy move. With one single swing, he completely obliterates the dummy into millions of splinters, leaving Reika staring in absolute disbelief. Our boy realizes he just completely loses control whenever he holds a blade. He quickly apologizes for the mess. Reika brushes it off, still shocked that he used the standard technique developed by the Empire. But her brain is short-circuiting. How could the most basic common sword art possibly create that kind of terrifying speed and raw destruction? Dropping her attitude, she suddenly looks at him and calls him amazing. She finally realizes he is a hidden genius, demanding to know why he faked being weak. Honestly, she fully believed he was just a lazy, useless servant, but she was so incredibly wrong. Wow, the misunderstanding was that bad. Asher immediately starts blushing, completely embarrassed. But right then, some arrogant noble steps up, demanding to know why she is hanging with a servant. Just one look at this guy screams pure absolute trash. He glares at our hero, ordering him to get outside and start chopping firewood immediately. Barking like a dog, he asks how a filthy commoner dares to speak to the noble family so casually. He needs to remember his lowly place. Asher just sighs, thinking this guy is insanely obnoxious. Then the arrogant noble notices the training sword resting right in our hero's hand. Perfect timing, honestly. The noble smirks, deciding he desperately needs a new sparring partner. Drawing his real blade, he promises to respect Asher if he survives 1 minute. Reika instantly steps in, yelling at him to stop. The arrogant jerk laughs, saying he obviously was not going to kill the poor servant. Reika deadpans, that's not the issue. And let's be real, you and I know why, because this arrogant noble is about to get utterly destroyed. Alright, stick with me here. Asher just watches, thinking this guy's stance is an absolute joke, wondering how Reika ended up with such a clueless idiot for an older brother. Both of them get ready, and the fight finally kicks off. A sword instantly flies through the air. Just like that, victory goes straight to our main character in only a few seconds. But crazy enough, he didn't even want to win. Losing on purpose is actually way harder. Right then, a little ketchup drips down the guy's face. He instantly loses his mind and things quickly go completely downhill. The real question is how our guy plans to escape this crazy mess. Cut to another part of the castle. That guy demands severe punishment for Asher, screaming that a mere servant actually dared to injure the master. On top of that, they absolutely refuse to tolerate actions that drag noble dignity through the mud. The old man calls him in, asking if Luke was telling the truth. Asher actually recognizes him, wondering if he became a lord. 40 years ago, that guy was just a rookie guard captain. He remembers seeing him back when the former lord was around. Doing the math, our boy realizes at least 20 solid years must have passed since his own death. Levox claims they treated Asher like a real son, but this time he went way too far. He demands a harsh punishment, but claims he will be slightly reasonable out of past affection. He orders him out of the territory entirely. The other woman panics, begging against it. But Levox completely loses his temper, snapping that he only tolerated Asher for her sake. This time forgiveness is totally off the table. Now pay close attention here. They refuse to keep babying an ungrateful kid who completely ignores the grace of being raised. Honestly, he should be extremely grateful he is leaving without broken bones. Suddenly, Reika bursts in. She admits her brother was completely wrong, injuring himself while charging like a fool. Asher was simply giving him a needed sword lesson. Honestly, her brother's trash-tier swordsmanship is the real noble disgrace here. That absolutely destroys his pride. Naturally, Levox is totally stunned. He asks if Asher was actually teaching this girl how to fight. She hypes him up, saying his skill level is so insane she practically begged him to mentor her. Plus, he has completely changed, fully committing himself to her intense training sessions. The brother is utterly shocked. He mocks her, asking why she would ever learn that trashy, useless style. But she holds her ground. She saw his sword skills herself, and if they doubt her words, they should just make him demonstrate it live. The whole room falls dead silent. Levox immediately calls his guard, ordering a direct test of Asher's actual sword skills. His wife thinks it is too much, but Levox calls it a simple test. You and I both know exactly how badly this is about to end. The old man secretly stews, wondering what cheap trick Asher used to fake his skills and completely bewitch Reika. If this is just a stupid prank, he will absolutely pay for it with his life. They step up for battle. Callan is fuming that this idiot dared to teach Lady Reika. Even in front of Lady Benicia, he refuses to hold back, charging straight at our main character. Reika watches nervously from the sidelines. If her instincts are right, Asher can easily wipe the floor with Callan. The guard notices Asher shaking. He laughs, asking if he really thought swinging a sword was child's play. Well, since they are here, he plans to teach him a brutal lesson. The clash goes full force. Callan smirks, thinking Asher lacks even basic form while calling himself a swordsman. Exactly as he predicted. Weak and overly arrogant. He wonders how trash like him dared insult the sword. Meanwhile, Asher just effortlessly blocks every strike. Levox thinks the fight is getting way too dangerous. Even Reika seems completely confused now. Luke brags that this is expected from the Imperial Academy's top graduate. There is absolutely no way Asher can win. Yet our boy just keeps smiling. Callan calls him pathetic, yelling at him to learn his place in the dirt. But Asher calmly replies, "It was a cute performance, and now it is his turn." The man raises his blade, and with one explosive burst, he sends Callan flying backward. Every single jaw drops in pure shock. The defeated guard cannot even process what just hit him. The tables have completely turned. Asher casually mocks the elite guard, saying he barely even hit him, yet he still dropped like a rock. Internally, our boy is just disappointed. He wonders why this current generation is so pathetic, blaming it entirely on peaceful times. Trust me, he will teach them all some real military discipline. Let's jump right into the madness. He glares down at Charon, asking the so-called leader of the Arok Templars if he's actually getting beaten by a total nobody. Absolutely furious, the commander charges straight at our protagonist. He swings hard, but our boy dodges like it's nothing and drops the poor guy with one solid punch to the face. The whole crowd freezes in shock. I mean, our MC just literally smashed the guard's face in. Charon totally collapses to the ground, and honestly, Asher thinks it's completely pathetic. In his past life, even a random foot soldier was leagues better than a commander like this. Back then, countless warriors died fighting demons without making a dent. But now it's supposed to be peacetime. But still, how did these guys let themselves get so incredibly weak? Suddenly, a squad of soldiers swarms Asher. Benia begs her husband to shut this down, and he finally steps up, demanding to know the MC's true identity. Oh boy, things are getting messy. Because let's be real, he definitely isn't their Asher. Now watch this. Our boy stays quiet, then drops the ultimate excuse: amnesia. Way smarter than admitting he actually reincarnated into this body. He claims when he woke up today, his memory was completely gone. He says he doesn't recognize himself, let alone them. The only thing he actually remembers: how to swing a sword like a total master. He hoped fighting would jog his lost memories, but right now all he feels is a huge, hollow emptiness inside his chest. Still beating up the commander is a serious crime. Kneeling on the ground, our guy calmly accepts whatever punishment they want to dish out. The whole room goes dead silent. Later, locked inside his bedroom, Asher realizes he desperately needs time to process everything. So until things cool down, he's staying put. He just sits there staring intensely at his sword. Out in the hallway, Reika is blown away. Asher feels like a completely different person now. Little does she know how right she actually is. Before today, he was never like this. He had zero sword skills, and honestly his attitude was just plain garbage. Turns out he's adopted. Way before Reika and her brother were born, their mom found baby Asher completely abandoned right outside the castle walls. Back then, her mom was heartbroken over not having kids, so she raised the protagonist herself. Asher was always treated like family, but as the real kids grew up, their relationship with him just got worse and worse. Their mom completely smothered Asher with obsessive love, and honestly, it felt like she favored him over her own flesh and blood. Despite all that affection, Asher rebelled hard, constantly causing absolute chaos all over the noble estate. He was literally about to get banished, but thanks to Mom, he was allowed to stay as long as he worked like a regular servant. So yeah, the original owner of this body, total garbage. He used to be a massive jerk, but overnight his speech, his posture, everything flipped. His entire personality got a total factory reset. Not to mention, he's suddenly fighting like a legendary swordsman with decades of hardcore training. A little later, Reika nervously knocks on our MC's door, bringing him a tray of food. You and I know he's just training, but watch this. She opens the door to find his sword drawn crash. The food drops instantly. Talk about a bad first impression. The poor girl drops to the floor absolutely terrified. Realizing it's just Reika, Asher quickly apologizes. He just spotted the sword and figured he'd do some light indoor practice. Yeah, and nearly gave her a heart attack. After an awkward silence, Reika just ends up quietly watching our MC train. He is super obsessed with swordplay. Pausing his swings, Asher finally asks her the big question: what was he actually like before his amnesia? Because let's be honest, everyone in this castle looks at him like he's pure trash. Hearing this, Reika admits he was completely different. Basically, outside of Mom, everyone hated him. We're talking random violence, smashing up the estate, just being an absolute menace to society. Listening to her, Asher realizes this body's original owner was seriously unhinged. So he asks, why is she even talking to him normally? Shouldn't she despise him too? But Reika just shakes her head and smiles. She prefers this new him way more, even asking him to take care of her now. Wild turn of events, right? Our guy is literally speechless. But then another knock hits the door, asking to come inside. It's Benny Leok's wife. Asher instantly drops to one knee like a true knight, asking how he can serve her. But Benia gently holds his face in her hands, telling him to drop the formal act entirely. No matter what he did, she raised him. She begs him to act normally. But Asher firmly replies that the old him is truly gone. Even hearing that, she looks at him with pure love. Meanwhile, to our MC, she's a total stranger. Benia hugs him tight, saying she found him first. Trust me, you'll want to see what's next. Stick with me here. She hit 20 with absolutely no air, but then stumbled upon this abandoned kid right outside her castle. The second she held him and saw that little smile, her entire world flipped. Ignoring all the haters, she raised him with pure love. To him, she might seem like a total stranger right now, but whatever. She raised him like her actual flesh and blood. Meanwhile, Asher is low-key questioning if he can just hit reset as a new person, since these folks meant literally nothing to his past self. Fast forward to Levox's hall. This dude is actually stressing that our MC might be a demon, but honestly, that's just a crazy paranoid thought. Demons were wiped out ages ago anyway. Plus, even if one somehow survived, it has absolutely zero connection to our boy Asher. Seriously, a real demon would sneak into the noble ranks for power. There is zero logical reason to chill in some random commoner's body. But still, a kid like that destroying a high-level knight like Karen, yeah, that is a completely insane level. To make it even crazier, his own daughter wanted to be his student. Then suddenly, a random voice interrupts, mocking their little chat. Some mysterious dude in a full hood is literally chilling on the windowsill. The guards immediately rush him, demanding to know his identity. But this guy just effortlessly blocks the strike. He casually flexes that he's decent with a blade, praising Levox for having okay soldiers. Right after, the hooded man literally tosses the poor guard away, joking that if he were just a bit younger, it would be a real fight. Now watch closely. Nobody understood what was happening, but right then, Karen totally recognizes this mysterious guy. Levox mentions it has been 20 whole years, finally welcoming him in. The legendary Swordmaster himself, the one called Esther Hebon. Bro, wait. Isn't this the exact same guy our MC used to be friends with? A bit later, Levox straight up asks where His Majesty vanished to. After disappearing 20 years ago, everyone genuinely assumed he was dead. Hebon just shrugs, claiming he had a personal mystery to investigate. Dude literally traveled to the absolute ends of the world. And man, it definitely sounds like he found zero good news out there, but even then, he still hasn't uncovered the whole truth. Flipping the topic, he asks if some random boy actually beat one of Levox's elite knights. Levox awkwardly confirms it. Plus, the kid was just a commoner with absolutely zero formal sword training. Heban's eyes light up, realizing this kid must have monstrous talent demanding details. Meanwhile, our boy Asher is just ordering Reika to attack him with absolute full power. But the girl is super confused why he hasn't even drawn his weapon. Asher bluntly replies, "This is not about sword skills. It is raw combat training which starts way before any blade is drawn." He tells her to charge in with absolute killing intent. Reika had actually begged to be his disciple, but he totally rejected her over their massive status gap. But honestly, her stubborn determination was just way too strong. The girl aggressively rushes Asher, but he effortlessly dodges every single strike. He silently admits her raw talent and sword skills are actually pretty solid. I know what you're thinking, she's outmatched. Her movements are way too predictable, and boom, Reika just eats dirt. Asher offers a hand, admitting she is strong, but only when holding a blade. Before fancy swordplay, she desperately needs to train her mind and physical body. After all, real battlefield combat hits completely different. She needs to drop this blind obsession with sword fighting immediately. Having good technique alone will never keep you alive in a real messy fight. The main thing she has to master now is emotional control. You can never ever lose your cool or drop your guard in front of an enemy. Asher casually spits out these hardcore lessons while Reika just stares, realizing his combat logic is absolutely flawless. She instantly jumps back up and the brutal training officially kicks off. Flash forward, the session ends and our poor girl is totally running on fumes. He literally never loses and his stamina is freakish. But despite the beatings, she can feel herself leveling up. Out of nowhere, her annoying brother drops in mocking her for playing around with that idiot. Reika snaps back that it was serious training. Luke arrogantly claims hanging with some random guy isn't real training. She rolls her eyes, telling him to believe whatever he wants. The siblings keep loudly bickering, with Luke whining that she shouldn't learn from trash like Asher. Fed up, Reika violently draws her sword and tells him to shut his mouth. The brat instantly starts shaking in pure fear. He stammers out a weak warning that hitting him won't end well. Right at that exact second, another voice chimes in, amused by a sister casually trying to smack her own brother. It is the legend Heban himself, calling it a super rare sight. Levox quickly marches up, warning his daughter that even she wouldn't escape punishment for striking him. Instantly dropping the attitude, the girl side-eyes the newcomer, totally confused and wondering who this random old grandpa even is. Because honestly, his aura feels absolutely insane. Then Luke blurts out that he's a literal swordmaster and Reika's jaw just completely drops in pure shock. There are literally fewer than 10 of those legends in the whole empire. Luke totally fanboys out, saying he's always worshipped his swordsmanship. He begs to be his disciple, convinced only a master could actually teach him properly. And that's where we leave it. This fool has absolutely zero clue our MC is a legendary master too and just gets hilariously ignored. Heban greets Reika, casually telling her it's a pleasure to finally meet. But he notices something. She's not scared at all, eyes locked, ready to throw hands. So, he decides it's time for a little test. Stick with me here because things get wild. Heban grabs his sword, everyone freezes but Reika. She doesn't even flinch against the supposed swordmaster. She's playing back the MC's strict training in her head. Rule number 1, never lose your cool, even when a legendary giant sword is being drawn right in your face. This girl is absolutely fearless. Boom, she actually blocks the heavy strike head on, catching the old man completely off guard. Usually when he throws out an aggressive surprise attack like this, it's just to see how rookies react. 99% of them either run away crying from his intense aura or instantly collapse from the impact. But her, she stood her ground using just a cheap wooden sword. That right there, pure, raw warrior energy. They jump back to create space, and she immediately charges right back in. He just watches her incoming attack silently, wondering if she trained at the famous Ravenia school. He admits her counterattack is genuinely impressive. Still, the gap is too big. Reika hits the dirt completely out of breath. The blade points right at her throat before her panicked dad begs him to stop. Heban laughs, roasting Levok by saying his daughter is way braver than he ever was. Emotional damage right there. Before the old man can finish his sentence, Reika staggers back to her feet, sword gripped tight, ready for round 2. You and I both gotta respect her insane hustle. But watch this. He teleports right behind her, admitting he's actually impressed she squeezed in that sneaky counterattack. She's totally confused by his speed. Then out of nowhere, Heban asks to meet her master. She agrees, silently realizing this old dude is a total monster in disguise. Walking back, she can't shake it off. Her absolute best strike, he blocked it like it was child's play. Not to mention her normally strict dad is sweating bullets just walking next to him. Heban turns to her, casually asking what she felt when she first saw her master's swordsmanship in action. She says it felt like watching a seasoned veteran. Hibin just cracks up, finding it hilarious to call an 18-year-old kid that. Minutes later, they arrive. Hibin looks around, noting it's been ages since he visited this exact training ground. He used to spar here with his absolute best friend. When Lavok asks where that guy is now, Hibin drops the sad truth he passed away. Obviously, we all know he's talking about the MC. Right on cue, someone interrupts our boy Asher's solo training session. He turns to see Reika but completely freezes when he spots the guy next to her. His old buddy, Hibin. What's he doing here? Then it clicks. Hibin actually had strong ties with Lavok's family back then. Years ago, young Lavok literally begged Hibin to watch his back and train him. Hibin grins, thrilled. The kid actually recognizes him. He instantly reaches for his blade and Asher just sighs. Classic Hibin, always picking fights. The old man just loves testing fresh talent. Plus, it's been way too long since they had a proper showdown anyway. Now, here's the part you're gonna love. Asher finally draws his weapon. One stance and the old master is completely speechless at his utterly flawless technique. Instantly, Hibin is thrown into a flashback of his old captain. The captain humbly claimed his skills were inferior. But Hibin just smiled, saying their paths were just different, begging for a friendly sparring match. They crossed blades back then, sharing a bond forged in pure combat. Back to reality, Hibin feels that exact same nostalgic energy from this kid. He has absolutely zero clue it's literally his old friend. Lost in the sauce, the old man totally slips up and accidentally calls Asher by his old title, Captain. Dead silence. Lavok blinks, asking what he just muttered, but Hibin quickly waves it off as nothing. Covering his tracks, he asks if Asher happens to be his old friend's disciple. But our boy plays dumb, claiming he never even had a master. Without missing a beat, the old Swordmaster seizes the moment. He straight up offers to take Asher in. Wait, seriously, even Lavok is totally stunned that a legendary master is basically begging for a student. But Reika steps up yelling cut. She calls out the old man, complaining that randomly attacking innocent people is totally out of line. She demands to know if having a fancy title means he can just go swinging his giant blade at anyone he wants. Her dad panics, telling her to shut up, but Hibin just laughs it off. He sighs, saying kids these days just don't respect the legends anymore. So, time to show off. Boom, a literal giant tornado erupts out of nowhere. Absolute madness. Trust me, you and I are gonna want to see what this master swordsman does next. Stick with me here. This is Aura, and right now Hibin swings his massive sword. Boom, he attacks a mountain, triggering a massive explosion. The dust clears, and the entire peak is just completely wiped off the map. Flexing his title as a master swordsman, Hibin proudly claims that talented prodigies like them are absolutely destined to reach the peak of power. He turns to Asher, grinning. Well, ready to become my loyal disciple now? Reika just stares at that insane power, totally stunned, wondering how incredibly strong she could get under him. But Asher, he immediately shoots the master's offer down. Jaws drop everywhere. Total silence. Though a few minutes later, the whole city is throwing a massive celebration because a master swordsman arrived. The entire crowd pushes forward to see the legend, but guards block their path. Asher ignores the hype, casually training while calling the crowd a mess. Looking over, Asher asks if Hibin plans on greeting his fans. Nope. Hibin is staying right there, stubbornly asking one more time if Asher will be his student. Asher rejects him again, totally annoyed. This grandmaster is practically superglued to his side, doing whatever it takes to recruit him. Being your friend's student is just awkward anyway. Asher points right at Reika, suggesting she would be a way better student, but she looks absolutely miserable. Hibin shrugs, admitting he already asked her, but got rejected. She proudly declared she already had a master. Points for extreme loyalty, right? Asher is completely caught off guard. Did she seriously turn down a literal master swordsman just so she could keep taking basic lessons from him? That level of devotion is wild. Meanwhile, as night covers the city, we see Luke aggressively stomping down a dark street. He is absolutely furious about Hibin's words, blaming everything on that one specific guy. He wants him gone permanently. His life is ruined now. Blaming everyone else is always the easiest excuse for a loser. Now watch closely. You and I knew this was coming. Something suddenly lunges, completely trapping him. A massive monster laughs in the shadows. Soon after, the camera pans to Luke, completely knocked out on the cold ground. Groggily sitting up, he questions his surroundings. Suddenly, a creepy, fully hooded figure calls his name, politely saying it is a pleasure to meet him. Yeah, that hooded guy screams danger. A day later, we cut back to Reika absolutely fuming, saying she officially hates that old master. She rants about his lack of manners, pointing out that even Asher treats him casually. Asher casually explains, they are just friends, plus the old guy is literally a high-tier master swordsman anyway. He suggests Reika should probably take those master lessons, but Reika shuts it down, wanting to be exactly like Asher instead. He is her absolute role model and she genuinely respects him as her one and only master. That was a pretty emotional confession. She begs him to stop the self-doubt, but Asher still firmly believes he has zero raw talent. Look, every technique here was forged by ancient heroes. Every fighter dreams of mastering heroic swordsmanship to break past basic human limits. But Asher is entirely different. Imperial swordsmanship is incredibly basic, a simple style meant for anyone. Handed out by the Empire, it was literally the only technique a talentless guy like him could actually learn. So he spent his entire life swinging a blade, relying completely on that basic Imperial style. Despite all that, he really wonders why a natural genius like Reika looks up to him. But in her eyes, she truly believes Asher is the sole reason she grew stronger. I know what you are thinking, this is deep. She survived the old man's pressure because of Asher's lessons, viewing him as her ultimate light. Okay, maybe slightly dramatic. Right on cue, Hibben drops in, teasing them about having a lover's quarrel. Classic old man humor. Asher tells him to stop being ridiculous, then notices something in Hibben's hand. The old master smiles, saying it is a special gift. Since Asher does not care about specific weapon shapes, he can basically wield absolutely any sword or gear. Asher agrees, noting that his imperial style is simply about building a perfect foundation. It is totally different from heroic swordsmanship, which relies entirely on flashy, superhuman moves. But the big advantage, heroic arts only work with swords, while his imperial foundation adapts to literally any weapon out there. Back in the present, Asher realizes he just received heavy iron gloves. Hibben smirks, claiming it is not just normal armor. He tells Asher to flex his arm and vividly imagines summoning any weapon he wants. Asher focuses his energy and boom, a sharp dagger instantly materializes. Hibben calls it an incredibly useful tool. Asher is shocked, asking if it is actual magic. Yep, spatial magic designed for weapon storage. You just imagine storing the item and it vanishes. So what do you and I take from this? A tool useless to obsessed swordsmen becomes incredibly broken in the hands of a versatile fighter like Asher. Let's dive back in. Asher asks about the weapon, but Hibben drops a bombshell. Turns out he originally forged it for his late friend who passed away too soon. Reika pieces it together. Is this the guy from 20 years ago? Hibben nods. Both used imperial sword styles, and despite walking totally different paths in life, Hibben genuinely respected the guy. He knew he lacked natural talent but never quit and just carved his own destiny. Asher is stunned. He always assumed the great heroes looked down on the untalented as worthless. Who knew this legendary master actually cared enough to craft something so personal? Then Hibben admits the truth. Asher looks exactly like his old friend. Same attitude, same exact way of speaking. Even his battle stance and sword techniques match perfectly. Honestly, Hibben admits he got a little jealous, asking one more time to take him as a disciple. Our boy just smiles and finally accepts the offer, but only on a temporary basis, obviously. Enough talking time to fight. Hibben draws his blade without a second thought, and things are about to get incredibly intense here. Watching from the sidelines, Reika realizes Asher loves the gift, and just scored a legendary master. Now pay close attention because the scene shifts. That hooded guy from earlier shows up, saying he tracked rumors of a Swordmaster straight to this exact spot. Luke demands his identity. The guy claims he represents the Motorola Assassin Guild, asking the young lord for permission to set up a local base. That name rings a massive bell for Luke. They are literally the biggest assassin organization from 50 years ago. So why on earth are they out in this wasteland? Luke smells an opportunity for a twisted alliance. He agrees to let them stay, but only if they accept his one specific condition first. Classic villain move. This is absolutely going to end badly. The assassin flashes a creepy smile, asking him to spell out the details. Without skipping a beat, Luke orders a hit on our main character. So predictable, right? The assassin just laughs it off. Meanwhile, the sparring match is still raging. Nobody is backing down, and Asher charges in, landing a solid strike. But obviously, that barely leaves a scratch on a literal swordmaster. Hibben realizes Asher's raw technique rivals his own, calling his movements incredibly close to absolute perfection. Asher claims that is his absolute limit. Suddenly, Hibben tosses him away, but our boy flips and perfectly regains his footing. The master sighs, calling it a real shame he only excels at imperial style with zero talent for heroic swordsmanship. He locks eyes with Asher, then suddenly snatches one of his throwing daggers. Noting how Asher relies on tools, the boy replies that having no talent means he has to exploit every trick possible. A few days pass by. Asher keeps grinding with Hibben, who is also still giving Reika some lessons. Asher admits Reika has way more natural talent than him. Hibben laughs, saying his self-deprecating personality perfectly matches his old friend. That guy also only learned imperial arts, constantly stressing out, because he believed he lacked any real gift. But despite that supposed lack of talent, Hibben admits he does not even know what talent really means anymore. Asher is completely caught off guard. This is coming from Hibben, a genius literally blessed by the heavens themselves. Let that sink in for a second. How did this arrogant guy completely change his worldview in just a few years? Right on cue, Reika walks in looking surprisingly dressed up for the occasion. She announces imperial guests have arrived. Hibben was clearly expecting this, groaning about how troublesome this group always is. Cut to a bunch of soldiers kneeling before Hiban, practically begging him to return to the capital city. Hiban remarks he expected the guard captain's successor to fetch him. The soldier nervously replies the captain is currently tied up. Whatever. The master accepts their request, mentioning he was planning to head back anyway. But since it is getting late, they will head out tomorrow. Hiban warmly adds, it was great seeing Lev again. He also tells Reika it was an absolute pleasure, confident that their paths will definitely cross again someday. Even without knowing his future path, Reika is just left completely speechless. Suddenly, a flashback hits, showing our main character training in his original body. Someone says he has zero talent, suggesting he find a different career. But Asher replies he does this simply because he wants to. If a lack of talent was going to break him, he would have quit years ago. He tells her to stop staring and just leave. That mysterious girl is Lafinia, and trust me, you're going to want to hear her advice. Getting told he will never achieve a single thing and that his talent is absolute garbage. Honestly, why be so harsh? Destined to be a third-rate swordsman. Well, stick with me here. Our hero wakes up realizing that was just a terrible dream. But get this, it was a memory from his past life. Honestly, he feels completely grossed out just remembering it. Lefthania, the youngest swordmaster in history, literally looked him in the eye and called him a total failure. But the joke is on her. He actually became a master swordsman before dying, even training a genius girl to be his official successor. Knowing she was dead wrong, he is suddenly interrupted. Hiban shows up out of nowhere, asking if he is seriously training this early. Our guy blames a bad nightmare for being awake. Hiban, he is just up early because he is packing up to leave for the Empire at dawn. Since they will not cross paths for a good while, they might as well just catch up right now. Then boom, Hiban gets dead serious. He reveals he has spent the last 20 years traveling the globe, hunting down weird contradictions to see how the world actually changed. And looking right at our boy, he claims he finally found his answer. Instantly, the main character goes on high alert. Where is all this crazy bloodlust coming from? Hiban draws his blade and slashes right at him, but wait, it misses. He actually cuts down a bunch of monsters sneaking up behind our guy, leaving him completely speechless. Now, pay attention. Hiban drops the bomb. This is the hidden truth he spent decades finding. To put it simply, those ugly things right there are demons. They have been hunting him non-stop, waiting to strike. Asher asks why they are even here. The heroes supposedly wiped these things off the map. Hiban nods, yeah, the heroes definitely took down the Demon King back then. After that, every single creature of darkness just vanished into thin air. At least that is what the whole world believes. But guess what? It is a massive lie, and these freaks are still actively hunting him. They want him dead to keep the secret buried. Asher just shrugs and says, whatever, let us just wipe these guys out first. Priorities right. The demons rush our hero all at once. But come on, absolute fodder like that is not laying a scratch on him. He casually activates his glove, morphing his sword straight into a spear to completely obliterate every single demon in one epic sweep. Standing back, Hiban watches the whole massacre. He realizes those smooth moves are exactly what the girl had described. This is pure veteran-level skill. Honestly, it felt just like watching his old friend fight. This kid is totally built different. His talent is absolutely off the charts. Just like that, the dust settles and our duo completely clears out the demon ambush. I know exactly what you are thinking. Hiban actually suspected Asher was a demon too. He wondered if this kid was just a monster faking a human form after stealing Jinwoo's memories. Pretty dark, huh? Hearing this crazy theory, Asher asks if he means a mimic. Hiban nods. Yep, exactly that. But there is no way a demon could fake swordsmanship at this god tier. Asher is 100% human, practically mirroring his dead best friend. Anyway, Hiban is heading straight for the Empire to leak the truth and warn everyone about the massive danger coming. After that, he has to track down the missing hero. But he really hopes they will cross paths again someday. Next time he demands a proper sit-down chat. Later on, Asher is just chilling in bed wondering, did that hero actually fail to beat the Demon King? Back when the world was literally burning to ash, that hero crashed in like a comet and pushed back the apocalypse. The guy was ridiculously overpowered, basically a walking legend straight out of a fairy tale book. But just like Hiban's buddy, he vanished 20 years ago, leaving his people and his kingdom completely behind. Where did he go? If he lost to the Demon King, then how do you even explain 20 years of total peace? But honestly, no matter what crazy stuff is happening, his goal has not changed. Truth or no truth, he is going to keep swinging that sword until the bitter end. Seriously, I am dying to know if he can actually use his full Swordmaster skills right now. But suddenly Luke shouts out, interrupting our guy. And let us be real, Luke is absolutely cooking up some kind of shady scheme here. Cut to somewhere else. A hooded villain asks if sending the big bosses is overkill. The response, that kid is the Swordmaster's disciple. The hood scoffs, he is literally just a kid. Plus he only uses basic imperial swordsmanship. But the bearded leader growls. That boy is dangerous. He is built entirely different. He reminds him the last time they stepped out of the shadows, someone using that exact same imperial swordsmanship nearly wiped their entire organization off the map. The Hood just laughs it off. Your group was just weak back then. Now everything is leveled up. He is finished. Are you and I ready for this epic showdown? He flat out claims that carrying the hero's legacy means absolute immunity to some trash-tier imperial swordsmanship. The little bearded guy literally has no comeback to that. And just like that, we jump over to a new location. Our boy Asher checks a sketchy note from Luke demanding an alley meetup. Now, you and I both know this screams trap, but he strolls right in anyway. Walking into the shadows, he casually asks why his welcoming committee is hiding. Right on cue, the air ripples and those creepy hooded figures from earlier finally reveal themselves. Recognizing the Motorola Guild, Asher sarcastically asks what elite assassins want with a supposedly inferior target like him. One goon completely panics, wondering how some brat recognized their secret squad. The other demands to know if the Swordmaster leaked their identity, but Asher brushes them off, smirking because he already wiped the floor with these guys in his past life. Back then, they tried claiming this exact turf, so he hunted them down and completely erased them from existence. Classic villain arrogance. The head assassin smugly declares that our guy just walked right into his own grave, but our boy just hits them with a cold smile and instantly draws his blade. He drops one assassin in mere seconds, mocking them for yapping so much even while getting utterly wrecked by imperial swordsmanship again. The leader freaks out over how he knows their history, but Asher literally could not care less. His ultimate goal is the only thing taking up space in his head right now. Anyway, while he handles business, we cut over to a royal palace where a king welcomes back the child of the empire. The absolute funniest part, he is calling a heavily bearded guy like Hyben a child. Hyben claps back, saying, 20 years ago the king actually seemed smart, but now he is just a tired old man crushed by reality. The king sighs at his complete lack of royal respect. Hyben just boldly states that Swordpath followers do not care about silly human authority. You and I both know he is acting like the absolute greatest. Moving on, the king brings up terrifying rumors about rifts opening and demons pouring out. Hyben bluntly states their main priority is finding the hero. To do that, he desperately needs the Empire's help, but the king immediately shoots him down. Hyben is totally stunned. The king explains they are severely short on manpower because apparently the hero was not the only VIP who mysteriously vanished. Completely lost, Hyben demands to know exactly what the heck is going on. Jumping right back to our boy's alleyway brawl, the head assassin confidently brags that normally he would finish this instantly, but he wants answers first. He demands to know how Asher dug up their past. Asher simply smirks and tells him to come find out. Instantly, one of the cloaked goons lunges forward for a strike. But come on, our MC is not falling for something that pathetic. Suddenly, the entire squad swarms him from all sides, yet he casually dodges every single blade. And insanely enough, he launches a brutal counterattack without breaking a sweat. The boss watches from a distance, mocking Asher's cheap tricks as desperate human flailing. Meanwhile, Asher is just internally praising how awesome his new gauntlet feels. The oblivious boss completely misses that Asher just used high-level spatial magic to summon his weapon. Now pay attention here. The assassin boss declares his ultimate swordsmanship will end this. Asher immediately recognizes the signature Motorola Guild fighting style. It is a terrifying skill that completely hides the shape of the blade, gliding silently through the darkness to strike at critical blind spots. Realizing Asher knows the technique, the boss furiously commands the Swordmaster's disciple to die by the hands of this supposedly flawless martial art. The guy unleashes a relentless barrage of attacks, forcing Asher to stay entirely on the defensive. Asher realizes something is off because the strikes have literally zero predictable patterns. Meanwhile, the overconfident assassin just keeps spamming his offensive moves like a madman. Visibly struggling to keep up with the weird rhythm, Asher actually ends up dropping his weapon. The villain praises Asher for lasting this long against such complex swordsmanship, bragging that he is one of the elite 13 seats recognized by the Guildmaster. Unfazed Asher calls that title completely pathetic, and then bluntly asks why the guild wants him dead. The assassin chuckles, asking since when professional killers sit around explaining motives to their targets. But our quick-witted MC plays along, arguing that, since he is totally doomed anyway, granting a dying wish shouldn't hurt. The idiot boss actually falls for it, confirming they were sent specifically to assassinate him. It was all ordered by some mysterious oracle. He smugly asks if that clears things up, and Asher grins, saying that is more than enough intel. And just like that, the trap snaps shut. Our boy immediately goes on the offensive. The stunned villain asks what just happened. So what do you and I take from this? Never underestimate a cheap trick. Alright, grab a seat and let's jump right in. The scene shifts and Luke is knocking back a drink. He figures our boy is definitely dead by now, problem solved. In his head, even if our main character was strong, those hired assassins were absolutely top tier. But suddenly, a voice says they finally found him. Oh man, Luke freezes. Asher is standing right there fully alive and the panic is real. To make it worse, our kid is chilling inside the room completely calm, just wants a little chat. Luke stammers, demanding to know why he is there. Asher just smiles, asking why he's acting like his target wasn't supposed to survive. Right then, reality hits Luke. Did this kid seriously wipe out the entire Motorola guild? Which means only one thing. Asher absolutely knows Luke ordered the hit on his life. Asher takes a step forward. Luke panics, screaming at him to stay back, yelling about how he can't just break into a noble's room. But our boy doesn't care about his dumb titles at all. His sword is out. Just a threat though. Asher warns him he ignored his trash behavior before, but this was way over the line. Don't ever ruin his peace with this cowardly garbage again. Our guy is absolutely furious. With that warning dropped, Asher puts his sword away. He turns to leave, telling Luke this is the absolute last time they interact. For his own sake, they better not cross paths again, because if he tries anything else, that was officially his final warning. Watch closely, right here. Luke just sits there in dead silence, and you can literally see the sheer terror breaking him down. Cut to the Assassin Guild from earlier. A guy in a hood reports the awful truth: the mission completely failed. The bearded guy isn't surprised. He expected it honestly, since they got wiped out by that familiar imperial swordsmanship all over again. It is driving him crazy. He desperately wants to know who this kid actually is. Out of nowhere, another guy bursts out laughing. He mocks him. Does he seriously think the kid is tied to the former guard captain just because of his fighting style? Still, he can't believe it. The deadly Motorola guild just got utterly embarrassed by one random child. The old man grumbles about his brutal history with that sword style, but the hooded guy bites back, saying they lost simply because they lacked actual skill. Whatever. He decides to handle the kid himself, tapping into the crazy power of the god Munia. Meanwhile, back in the city, a huge crowd is gossiping. Word on the street, an assassin broke in and threatened Master Luke. Plus, crazy rumors are flying that Asher, the village idiot, actually crushed those bandits. But nobody is buying it. They refuse to believe this troublemaker became a Swordmaster's disciple overnight. People just don't change that fast, right? Over at the Lord's Hall, Karen points out the entire village almost got wiped off the map. Lev is absolutely fuming. Luke caused a massive disaster and he demands to know where he is. The guard nervously says Luke hasn't left his room. Lev scoffs good, he needs to sit there and think about his pathetic choices. He shifts focus, asking about the village. The guard reports the chaos is fading and things are finally starting to stabilize out there. Not to mention, everyone's opinion of our main character is shooting straight up. Hearing this, Lev realizes he seriously needs to show his gratitude to Asher. I know you and I are thinking the exact same thing as Karen here. Who is Asher really? Can someone change this fast? Lev shakes his head. Master Hibon totally guaranteed that Asher isn't some disguised demon. Still, the kid is insanely dangerous. If he turns evil, he could wipe out the whole Iraq territory. But end of the day, he fought for them and saved everyone. Because of that raw power, they have to figure out if Asher is truly an ally or hiding some dark ulterior motive. Well, a perfect chance just dropped in their laps. Basically, they need to closely watch his next move and see his true colors. Karen looks confused, asking what he means. Then we cut back to our boy deep in thought. Flashback time. He's pinning down the hooded guy, demanding the absolute truth. Why does this supposed god want him dead? The assassin swears they don't know. They just blindly follow the oracle's kill order, waiting to strike once they confirmed he was hiding in this village. Asher pieces it together. They were totally planning to use Luke as a puppet here. The guy nods frantically. That was the plan. Now he begs will Asher spare his life for spilling the beans. Sorry buddy, our boy literally never promised that. Classic mistake. Cut straight back to the present. Asher is trying to figure out their endgame. Motorola is a crazy cult, worshipping the god Munia. Whoever holds the top seat gets absolutely broken powers from him. They used that divine strength to conquer, but here's the kicker. Asher already defeated them in his past life. So why pop up now? He wonders if this god somehow knows he actually reincarnated into this body. Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for this. He's heading straight for the capital to finally uncover the secret behind his reincarnation. Right then, a knock hits the door. It is Reika, and she is looking seriously miserable today. Let us dive into this wild mess because out of nowhere, she just got an arranged marriage proposal. Flashback time. Reika straight up tells her dad she is not ready for marriage, and he actually says he totally understands her feelings. But sadly, she has zero choice here, especially once she realizes exactly who the suitor is. She figures she should meet the guy first. Maybe he is actually somewhat decent, right? Back to reality, she admits she is basically being sold off. Asher guesses they are super powerful, and she drops the name, the Count of Bellatoria. Our guy instantly recognizes the name, completely shocked they are actually pulling an arranged marriage. That is Vibarka Bellatoria, a literal ancient hero and the current ruler of the territory. Asher actually knew him in his past life. The guy was not insanely overpowered, but he was incredibly virtuous and ruled his lands perfectly. Asher asks if the old lord proposed directly. Reika instantly shoots that down with disgust. It is for his son. The lord has over 50 wives, and marrying into that kind of crazy family just creeps her out completely. Now pay close attention here. Asher knows Vibarka is ancient, so why is his son suddenly jumping into a random arranged marriage? Cue another flashback where someone points out the son directly. His name is Boros. Asher calls him brave, then notes that marriage proposals are already flying around wildly between the noble families. But Vibarka insists his son will marry for true love, even if she turns out to be a simple commoner. Jumping back to the present, Asher realizes Vibarka was completely unique. He used to be super humble, but even he finally caved to boring noble politics. Changing topics, Reika asks about the crazy rumors. Did Asher really solo that entire assassin organization all by himself? She desperately wants his kind of strength. Our boy calls her insanely talented, admitting it absolutely sucks to see her go. Staring right at him, she begs for one final favor. Cut to Asher holding a sword, asking if they are seriously doing a last duel. Reika nods, knowing that once she gets married, her sword-fighting days are permanently over forever. Before trading swords for dresses, she wants one last bout. Yelling at him to go all out, she charges right in. We both saw this coming right. The fight ends fast, and Asher easily wins. Right after the spar, another face steps into the scene. It is Venetia, Reika's own mother. Grabbing her daughter by the hand, Reika jokingly asks why mom looks more heartbroken than her. Her mom survived an arranged marriage too, but Venetia quickly clarifies she actually knew her husband beforehand. Reika has literally never met this new guy. Still, she tries playing it cool, saying forming ties with a legendary hero family is honestly super beneficial. Suddenly, Venetia turns to our MC with a huge favor. She begs Asher to look after Reika when she travels over to the new territory. She needs a familiar friend in a completely strange place, and honestly, Asher is her absolute closest buddy. Hearing this, Asher instantly accepts the quest. Plus, he kinda wanted to check out Vibarka anyway. He needs to see how the guy changed. Time skip, and they head out. Reika looks pretty annoyed though, complaining about why her dad forced the guard Karen to tag along. Karen bluntly states it is just the Lord's orders. Flashback to Levro, telling him to strictly watch Asher. After all, what if Asher's actual target was Reika all along? He could be faking everything just for this master plan. I mean, why else would Asher defend a territory that absolutely despised him? The only person who actually respected him and stuck around was Reika herself. If she leaves, he might finally snap and go rogue. So Karen is on bodyguard duty to uncover his real sneaky intentions. Keeping a close eye, Karen fully believes Asher is just plotting to steal Miss Reika's heart. Meanwhile, Asher already knows Levro totally doubts him. Karen is boiling with rage, swearing to instantly strike the MC down if he tries anything. Seriously, did this absolute clown forget the brutal beatdown he already took? Moving on, Reika asks how much longer this trip takes. Karen replies they just crossed into the Count's territory, so maybe half a day left. Shortly after, Asher casually drops that Bellatoria has been totally isolated from the outside world for 20 whole years. Reika asks why, and Asher simply shrugs. He has no clue. It is super weird they suddenly want an arranged marriage now. Reika brushes it off but admits she is dying to know why the Lord is considered a hero. Vibarka was a saint. Trust me, we definitely want to see what happens next. Let's dive into this wild manhwa. Our guy was born filthy rich, living in pure luxury, but traveling the world quickly showed him reality, so he actually ditched his fancy noble life entirely, choosing to take care of the sick and weak instead. The dude was so incredibly selfless, he literally demolished his own castle. He sold every single treasure using the cash to feed starving people and help work the farms. Man, what an absolute legend. Because of all that, the villagers absolutely worshipped him. That is exactly how he earned the hero title. Hearing this crazy story, Reika admits it is super hard for nobles to live like that, calling him remarkable. The guard totally agrees, saying his influence turned Bellatoria into a peaceful utopia full of wonderful people. Basically, they call this place an actual paradise, totally free of bandits and murderers. But then suddenly a panicked soldier runs to the carriage. Bandits just showed up. And honestly, you and I both know this is about to get messy. Reika immediately points out that Karen literally just said, this place was bandit-free. But the poor guy is just as confused as everyone else. Outside, these guys definitely do not look friendly. Stepping down from the carriage, Asher volunteers to handle it, guessing those annoying marauders followed them here. He readies his sword for a fight, but instantly realizes what is actually happening. Seriously, these people do not look like hardened criminals. Everyone is literally starving to death, leaving Asher totally questioning if they are even bandits. Soon after, Karen steps up, loudly announcing that this is Lord Levox's carriage. He threatens that one more step means zero mercy for them. But right then, Asher tells him to knock it off because these guys are clearly not bandits. They are just desperate, starving farmers. Honestly, dying of hunger or taking a sword slash is basically the exact same thing to them. So Asher tosses them a heavy bag of cash, telling them to buy whatever they need. Wait, wasn't this city supposed to be a literal paradise? The farmers leave crying tears of thanks while Karen complains that Asher just gave away his own hard-earned money. But for our guy Asher, he literally does not care since he wasn't spending it anyway. Plus, judging by their path, they definitely just fled from Bellatoria. Karen calls that completely impossible, while Reika urgently asks what went wrong. But the main character just casually replies that it's already handled. The girl storms back into the carriage, super annoyed that bandits are running wild in this territory. Plus, they actually got attacked, proving this fantasy world is just getting way too dangerous lately. Meanwhile, our protagonist sits quietly, seriously wondering what is happening in that kingdom. The scene finally shifts over to Bellatoria territory and our main squad has officially arrived. Everyone stares up shocked. You and I would be too, that castle is massive. Reika looks confused, asking, didn't he say Valara destroyed his own castle to live a completely humble life without any luxury? Even Karen is left totally speechless by the view. Suddenly, a guy warmly welcomes them, guessing she must be Miss Reika and her companions. Introducing himself with a bow, he says his name is Boros Bellator, claiming it's a huge pleasure. Right away, the girl awkwardly asks if he is her new husband. Boros confirms it, but bluntly admits it wasn't what he wanted, leaving absolutely everyone completely shocked by his honesty. A little bit later, Asher rides in the carriage, noticing this place has changed dramatically. The whole village is a ruined mess, completely opposite of the clean, happy place from before. Reika nervously asks if this is actually Bellatoria. Boros heavily sighs, admitting that the mood around there has been absolutely terrible recently. With several brutal murders happening lately, he warns them to avoid eye contact with the sketchy villagers. Hearing that drops everyone's jaw in surprise. Later on, while eating at a fancy table, Reika straight up calls this place a totally fake paradise that's basically just a bandit nest. On top of that, they are feasting on a massive banquet, while the commoners outside literally starve. Soon after, Karen shakes his head saying this is definitely not the kingdom he used to know. Right then, Boros appears, asking if they finished eating. He casually mentions that his father wants to see Reika now. Karen tries to argue, but the boy stops him. He already knows what they are thinking, admitting this Bellatoria is completely different from the past. Anyway, he warns them not to keep him waiting. Why? Because his father is basically a literal monster now. Man, talk about a dark glow-up. A few tense minutes later, everyone steps into the Lord's Hall. The man introduces himself with an intense aura. His name is Valara Bellator. Smirking, he mentions hearing they came all the way from Arok territory, adding it must have been an exhausting journey. But honestly, he says it doesn't matter. It's just a tiny effort to answer a summons from the great hero's family, right? Meanwhile, Asher watches this whole scene quietly from the back, realizing Valara has changed insanely since their last meeting. The creepy lord keeps staring directly at the girl, demanding her name, so she nervously introduces herself as Reika. Right away, the gross guy literally licks his lips, and Reika instantly realizes that nothing good is coming. He calls her name Lovely. And that is where you and I leave it. A bit later, Reika is totally freaking out. Sleep in the Lord's room? Absolutely not. But Boros tries calming her down, saying not to feel guilty since his dad just wants her to be super comfortable. But to Reika, this whole setup screams massive red flags. Plus, you and I both know that weird look on his face means he is definitely plotting something. Meanwhile, over in the king's hall, the lord is casually asking his son if he remembers those sweet bedtime stories from back when he was just a little kid. He used to preach about marrying for love, but since Boros never found anyone, the old man arranged for him to marry the daughter of the Arok family instead. But wait for it. After seeing her, the dad decides she is way more his type, so he will just find a different bride for Boros. Wow, talk about stepping over the line. Boros is stunned, asking what he means. And this guy just casually drops that he is making Reika his personal concubine. Gross. Anyway, we cut back to our main crew, where Karen is deep in thought. The guard asks how any lord could sink to such absolute garbage behavior. Asher is completely thrown off. The Valbarka, he remembers, super kind and humble. Back then, Bellator was an absolutely beautiful and happy place. But now Valbarka is consumed by pure arrogance and greed while the lord just wastes away on booze and cheap pleasures. No wonder the starving villagers are so desperate they have resorted to stealing. Asher seriously wonders if this is even the same guy he used to know. Right on cue, a knock hits the door. Boros is standing right there looking serious, saying they need to have a little chat. Now pay attention because this is where it gets crazy. Karen completely loses his mind, screaming to know if Lord Valbarka is actually stealing Miss Reika. Boros confirms it. His own engagement is totally cancelled, and his dad is going to marry her instead. Obviously, Karen is absolutely refusing to accept any of this garbage. Wasting zero time, he storms right toward the door, declaring he is bringing Miss Reika back immediately. He refuses to let her be used like some cheap pawn. Asher tries stopping him, but Boros calmly tells them it is perfectly fine. He knows Karen is a fiercely loyal knight and totally gets his anger, guessing he never wanted to see her trapped in a political marriage from day one. With her insane sword skills, Karen probably wanted Reika to become a true warrior instead. Completely caught off guard, Asher asks how he even knows all this. Boros smirks, revealing he runs his own underground information network. He is well aware of what is really going down over in the Iraq territory. His dad locked down the entire region to stop leaks, then literally hired a shady organization to dig up everyone's darkest secrets. So Boros knows the truth. The Iraq lord absolutely did not sell out his own daughter for some greedy personal gain. But because her family carries the bloodline of a legendary hero, they literally could not refuse the offer, even though that hero is long gone by now. His twisted father ordering Miss Reika into his bedroom obviously had him incredibly worried. So he moved her to the annex instead, plus he secretly unlocked the back gate, telling them to grab the girl at dawn and escape this territory immediately. As for the fallout, he tells them not to panic. He will stay behind and figure out a way to persuade his crazy father. Hearing this plot twist, our boy is still buffering, finally asking what on earth happened to this guy over all these years. Boros sighs, heavily revealing that his father completely changed about 20 years ago. He started brutally exploiting his own people, draining all their resources just to build a massive, flashy palace. You and I both know how this trope ends. While the villagers starved, his dad just drowned in castle luxuries, ignoring his bleeding territory. Asher shakes his head, mentioning there was a time when this guy was literally worshipped as a saint for loving his land and his people. Boros just lets out a bitter laugh at that. He remembers his dad always promising him one thing back then, that he should only marry for true love. But 5 years ago, things took a dark turn. He finally fell in love and brought the girl home to meet his dad, but then disaster struck. She was just a lowly commoner, but an incredibly kind person. Anyway, the very next morning, his true love was dead. Brutally murdered by his own father, just for daring to feel lust toward a high noble. Just bringing up the memory has the poor guy shaking with rage, asking Asher if that sounds like the actions of a holy saint. Asher stares him down and drops a heavy line because Boros gave his trust. Asher is returning it with absolute loyalty. Boros is confused, asking what he means, but looking over, our MC has literally vanished into thin air. We then cut right back to the drunk lord, chugging wine as usual. This creep is already plotting to enter Reika's room. But right at that very second, our boy Asher suddenly appears. Asher glares, stating the Valbarka he knew hated alcohol. He would always reject expensive wine, even when someone personally handed him a glass. The fake Valbarka snarls, demanding to know who he is. Asher ignores the question and tests him, demanding he recite the sacred oath of Bellatoria. Hearing that name, the clueless man just stammers, completely failing to understand what our protagonist means. Boom. Suspicion confirmed. This guy is a complete fake, wasting zero time. Asher instantly draws his sword and charges full speed right at the imposter lord. Slash blood sprays everywhere as the scene cuts to the castle exterior. And trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Reika asks where they are heading. The guard insists they leave immediately, warning her that something absolutely terrible is coming. That greedy lord had targeted her. Hearing this, the poor girl completely freezes in pure shock. Moments later, the two are already speeding off inside the carriage. But right then, the soldier drops a massive bombshell. Intruders breach the castle, and the lord is under attack. Total chaos breaks out inside the castle. Now stick with me here, because what we find inside the lord's room next is absolutely wild. Everyone watches our MC eliminate the lord, who was literally crying on the floor. Boros desperately screams his father's name, but our protagonist coldly reveals that wasn't his real dad. It was actually a nasty creature that steals human bodies by copying their exact looks. Basically, a straight-up demon in disguise. Hearing this madness, Boros furiously demands to know if it is a doppelganger. He says Asher is dead wrong, shouting, "Do you really think I am stupid enough to not recognize a demon inside my own home? If a monster took his father, it would have zero memories. It wouldn't recognize him, and honestly, it would have attacked him instantly." But his dad's memory was completely flawless. The guy remembered absolutely everything. Only his personality had shifted over time. But monster or not, that was still his father. He kept hoping his dad would turn back to normal. Now it is ruined. He furiously asks what right Asher had to interfere. Things are getting extremely tense. Asher stays completely silent while Boros screams for his guards to attack. But suddenly, a creepy laugh echoes through the room. The demon admits he has been totally exposed. He calls them all massive idiots as his true terrifying form fully materializes. You and I both knew something was off, right? Poor Boros is completely stunned, realizing he's staring at a literal doppelganger. Meanwhile, the guard sprints frantically down the castle halls, wondering what insane stunt our MC just pulled. Suddenly, a whole squad of soldiers gets sent flying as the demon viciously charges straight at Boros. Super casually, the monster laughs, saying it was incredibly fun killing his beloved father and wife. Karen leaps into the fight, rushing the demon with his sword to protect the boy. Sadly, it is completely useless. He unloads a heavy combo of strikes. The monster admits he is surprisingly skilled for a human. But playtime is officially over. The demon sneers, saying he has zero time to waste on this garbage. He smashes both guys into a wall. Glaring back, the demon demands to know how Asher uncovered his perfect disguise. The MC casually explains it was the Bellator oath. Valbar lived and breathed that promise, carrying massive faith in his own people. Plus, Valbar had a signature catchphrase. Asher mocks him. How could you pretend to be Valbar without knowing the basics? The demon angrily admits he had absolutely zero idea about any of that stuff. To play his part perfectly, he spent ages studying exactly how the real Lord acted. Let that sink in for a second. 20 years of perfect hiding, and our guy completely exposes him in under 1 minute. Before finishing him off, the furious demon demands to know who this kid actually is. Asher calmly drops the mic. He is a master swordsman, the very same human who completely wiped this demon's entire clan off the freaking map. He thought he slaughtered every last one of them, but clearly one nasty bug survived. Hearing that the monster finally realizes who he messed with, but it is way too late and the bastard gets instantly wiped out. On the floor, Boros groans in pain. Asher casually walks over, checking if he is awake. The boy looks up, totally mind-blown that it was actually a doppelganger. Helping him up, our MC admits it caught him off guard too. Turns out the monster just wanted past revenge. Staring at our protagonist, Boros wonders how he knew literally everything. Right on cue, Reika rushes straight into the chaotic scene. Backup soldiers flood the room to help. A whole day passes, and our MC visits a gravestone, definitely the real Valbar's resting place. Boros quietly arrives, explaining they finally built a proper tomb for his father. They recovered the body and set up a proper memorial. Asher gives his condolences, but the brave kid says it is okay. He is completely heartbroken, sure. But that demon had completely tricked him into believing it was his dad. Thanks to Asher, the territory is safe. Our MC asks what happens to the Bellator kingdom now. Boros declares he is taking charge. He plans to rebuild everything destroyed by the demons, even though he believes he will never match his legendary father. Asher smiles, recalling Valbar's words, "A lord is nothing without his people." And honestly, that is exactly why we love this story. Honestly, he isn't the one in charge, he just supports them. That right there is what true nobility looks like. At least that's what he genuinely believes and repeats to himself every single day. Stick with me here. You and I love a good guy. That's the famous Bellatoria oath. Boros then points out how our MC used that exact oath to expose the demon's weakness. But wait, that secret is strictly family and close friends only. So how exactly did he know? And more importantly, why is he such a massive expert on demons? Asher realizes he's looking incredibly suspicious right now. A few minutes later, we cut straight back to the Lord's castle. Karen explains that a doppelganger demon was stealing bodies to perfectly mimic humans. Meaning Lord Vlarko. He was completely faked by one too. This entire mess was caused by one filthy demon. Hearing this, Reika tells him to relax. The arranged marriage is totally cancelled. Annulled completely since those demons forced it on her. Plus, she's planning to pack up and leave this place as fast as possible. Back to Boros. Asher totally fakes an excuse claiming he knew everything because he's actually the master swordsman's personal apprentice. And honestly, it works. The master was his dad's close friend. If Asher is truly his apprentice, Boros can completely trust him. Right then, Boros actually drops to his knees. He calls Asher a great man for saving the entire Bellator kingdom. Now pay close attention. You and I are literally watching a high-class noble bow to a commoner. The young lord gives his thanks, promising to fulfill any request Asher has, all to honor the great Bellatoria name. Asher just gives a warm smile, silently thanking him back. He definitely inherited his family's deep humility. This kid is totally going to become an amazing lord. Later, over at Levox's castle, the guy is stunned. The Bellator Lord was a fake. This must be exactly what Hyben warned about earlier. That global crisis warning was spot on. First, the Motorola gang chaos, and now this massive demon invasion. Honestly, he is terrified of what happens next. No matter what, they absolutely cannot afford to drop their guard. Still, Asher saved them all yet again. He's basically becoming a hero, so Levox finally realizes he needs to change his bad opinion of him. Wow, about time, right? Asher probably doesn't need to walk on eggshells around him anymore. Meanwhile, our boy is totally eavesdropping through the door. He wonders if Levox is finally going to trust him. Honestly, he just hopes the suspicion is gone. Asher literally has zero interest in Levox and even less interest in staying here. Look at that. I know what you're thinking. He's going to relax, right? Wrong. The MC wants to leave but suddenly senses a hidden presence demanding they show themselves. Unbelievably, someone actually steps out of the shadows. The guy claims he heard everything, casually calling our protagonist a master swordsman. They belong to a secret intelligence organization called Topic. During the demon siege, Lord Boros secretly deployed these spies to keep communication lines open with the outside world. We get a quick flashback. Asher asks permission to hire them himself. Boros immediately agrees since the job is already done. Boros did ask why he needed a spy network. Asher's smooth reply, just for a little personal business. Boros totally senses there's way more to this story, but hey, he accepts it without pushing too hard. Back in the present. This long-haired guy introduces himself as Kairos, the actual head of the entire intelligence network. Asher greets him casually, announcing he's the new boss. Kairos squints, saying our boy looks awfully familiar. Honestly, Kairos was blown away by his combat skills. Slicing that doppelganger demon in half with one strike, absolutely terrifying. Asher admits he had zero clue the guy was even watching. Well, as a master spy, going unnoticed is literally his job, right? But anyway, Kairos noticed that dead doppelganger definitely knew Asher's secret. Whatever, it doesn't even matter now. Kairos asks what the plan is. Is he going to use an elite spy ring to hunt down some random nobodies? Nope. Asher wants to track down the legendary heroes. Because lately everyone called a hero has either vanished or gone completely rogue. Take Ryben and Vlarko, missing for 20 years. Vlarko got body snatched by a demon, and the other guy is currently being hunted by monsters. With the demons officially back, this whole world is doomed. Yet nobody knows where the other heroes went, especially the absolute legend who crushed the Demon King and banished them all. For now, their main mission is finding the exact whereabouts of someone named Valorant. Kairos looks shocked, admitting he never expected a massive case like this. So Asher smirks, is that too hard for his tiny spy group? So what do you and I learn from this? Never insult a spy's pride. Kairos fires back, there isn't a single secret in this world they can't uncover. Alright, let's jump right in. With everything settled, this guy immediately starts his mission without wasting time. Meanwhile, Cairo is absolutely fuming. He only accepted this insane offer because of his stubborn pride. The problem, he has zero clue how to find that kind of intel. Starting at the capital is his only option. Glancing sideways, he catches our main character, totally calling him out for being stuck up. So yeah, he is an interesting dude, but definitely a massive headache to deal with. Suddenly the scene shifts to another town. A villager asks if anyone heard the gossip. Bellatoria finally opened its borders. It is fantastic news for merchants hoping to expand their trading territories. Another guy wonders why they were locked down for so long in the first place. The blonde dude guesses it was probably because of demons, but the old man next to them scoffs. That makes zero sense. Demons are just fairy tales now wiped out over 50 years ago. There is absolutely no way demons would just randomly pop up. They were terrifying monsters, and so many brave people died fighting them back then. He remembers it well. He was almost trampled to death while running away with his mom. But right at that desperate moment, someone swooped in to save him. As a terrified little kid, he could only sit and stare. The legends standing right in front of him were the heroes. He only saw them once, but their faces are burned into his memory forever. Basically, he thinks today's kids need to respect the heroes. Without them, this peaceful world they enjoy would literally not exist at all. But hold your breath here, watch closely. A massive pack of goblins suddenly ambushes them, charging straight at the carriage. Nobody understood what was going on. Before they could even blink, it was already way too late. Soon after, we cut back to our main character. He realizes the monsters that once threatened humanity are actually back. Glancing over, he spots Reika intensely practicing her moves. He calls out to her, pointing out that everyone is stressed about the whole demon situation. The vibe in the air is getting ridiculously tense. Reika admits she has only ever seen demons inside books. Hearing that, Asher realizes it makes sense. People in this modern era know nothing about real demons, which honestly just makes the whole situation way scarier. Right then, a blood-curdling scream echoes out. A badly injured villager suddenly stumbles into view. The poor guy begs for his life, crying that demons burst out of the forest and wrecked his carriage. Our boy just stands there, trying to process this insane news. The scene instantly cuts over to the carriage, and it is just totally destroyed. Asher knows immediately this was not done by normal bandits. Looking at those weird footprints, he carefully analyzes the bloody evidence. Just then, Reika spots someone knocked out cold and rushes over to check on him. The old man is barely breathing, so she quickly orders the guards to save him. Coughing, the old man finally speaks up. Goblins had brutally ambushed them. Asher thought so. The monsters really are back. They are basically chaotic creatures from different races, super hostile, and a massive threat to all of humanity. I know what you are thinking. They vanished 50 years ago. Why return now? A bit later, the old man gets patched up. He explains he is just a merchant heading back from a nearby estate with a carriage fully loaded with expensive goods. Out of nowhere, these creepy goblins swarmed out of the trees, violently attacked his ride, and stole literally everything. Reika is confused and asks what goblins even are. The man describes them as tiny green monsters with sharp, pointy ears. Stepping in, Asher casually drops the lore, stating they vanished from the world right alongside the demons 50 years ago. The old guy is totally shocked that Asher actually knows this stuff. Our boy just shrugs, saying he read all about them in old history books. Half a century ago, the legendary heroes completely crushed the demons, wiping out anything that dared to threaten human existence. The portals to the demon realm were locked tight, and even the mighty dragons were utterly defeated. Monsters were chased far away from human lands. But get this, a powerful heroine called the Queen of the North Sea actually kept monsters tamed within her own territory. Under her rule, they stopped attacking humans completely and actually lived in perfect harmony with everyone. But now those monsters shattered the Northern Order and are hunting humans again. Plus, with Ravinia suddenly missing, the entire North is in pure chaos. Hearing this, Reika assumes that since the merchant recognizes goblins, he must know exactly how to kill them. The merchant shakes his head. He was just a little kid back then, so it was only the adults doing the actual fighting. Honestly, it happened so long ago that there is probably not a single living person who remembers their weaknesses. A whole day passes. While running errands in town, Reika notices that the entire city is basically in full panic mode. Crazy rumors about deadly assassins and returning demons are spreading like wildfire. Her dad met with the local lords, but literally nobody knows anything about monsters, and all the old record books are totally gone. To make things even worse, not a single warrior around has actually fought real monsters. Asher grimly assumes all those veterans have already died, just like his own original body. So what do we make of this? Goblins might be weak alone, but in massive swarms, it is game over. Alright, you and I are about to watch what happens when people know absolutely nothing about terrifying monsters. Walking down the streets, Reika complains about the terrible vibe, while our boy just wants to quickly smash any annoying obstacle standing right in his way. Meanwhile, the girl keeps her eyes glued to Asher. She instantly knows he is plotting something crazy. And sure enough, Asher sneaks out later, deciding it is hunting season for those ugly goblins. Bam! Someone bumps right into him. It is Reika. She totally knew he could not sit still and asks if he is actually going goblin hunting. Either way, she is tagging along. Asher immediately objects, calling it way too dangerous. Plus, the Lord would absolutely flip. Reika points out that Asher fighting would set a really terrible example for the entire village. They definitely cannot use the front gate. The guards are on high alert, so they have to sneak through a secret passage she knows about. With the plan set, the duo sneaks right out of the castle minutes later. Reika asks if he even knows where these goblins hide. Our boy calmly says they are heading straight to that attacked carriage. Simple logic, just track the monster footprints and they will easily find the main base. Zero hesitation, he just starts sprinting. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of creepy monsters are secretly watching them. Now watch closely, this is where it goes sideways, especially with that one extremely weird goblin lurking in the shadows. Reaching the spot, Reika begs to slow down, but our hero points out they are already there, spotting a dirty little fortress. He casually explains that goblins love damp, nasty areas, so finding a base here is honestly completely expected. Suddenly his radar goes off. The two of them quickly drop down into hiding. Two ugly goblins are standing guard. Asher tells her to stay cool, they just need to quietly take out the trash first. In a flash, our boy rushes forward, absolutely dropping the first goblin in mere seconds. The second one pops up right behind him, but come on, our guy is not losing to that. He stabs his sword right in, noticing the monster is actually still breathing. He calls Reika over time for her first kill. It is brutal combat practice. She seriously needs to learn exactly what taking a life actually feels like. With zero other options, the nervous girl grips her dagger, stepping up to the bleeding monster. She clearly hates doing it, but she swallows her fear and just does what absolutely has to be done. Cutting to the main lair, Asher explains these goblins are savage beasts, but honestly terrible at actual fighting. Still, they are incredibly aggressive and super deadly in large swarms. Reika declares them a huge threat to her territory that must be eliminated. Watching her, our boy realizes she is not even shaking after her first kill. Her mentality is just built completely different. She confidently pulls her sword, asking if it is time to slaughter the rest. Asher orders her to hold up. It is almost bedtime for these ugly little monsters. They will hide in their tiny huts all night because goblins are famous for falling into ridiculously heavy deep sleep. Basically, he will use this perfect chance to sneak right through their blind spots. Hearing this big brain strat, the girl assumes he has definitely fought goblins before. Soon, only a single guard remains. Bam! Our boy suddenly appears behind it, drawing his sword and silencing the beast instantly without any warning. Sneaking inside the hut, he finds every single monster snoring. We both know exactly how this goes down. Asher admits it feels incredibly cruel, but these beasts are a massive danger to all humanity. Just like that, the first nasty hut is completely cleared out. Only two more left. But wait, glancing sideways, he spots a totally weird hut. It looks perfectly human-built, and he instantly wonders if the big boss sleeps there. Goblins are totally brainless barbarians. They lack the tech for real houses or the brains to understand complex ranks. Simply put, they are just low-tier trash mobs driven entirely by raw instinct. Regardless, he definitely needs to wipe this mystery place out first. Best case, it is totally empty. But suddenly, a sharp noise, and holy crap, a massive trap comes flying straight at his head out of nowhere. Our hero is completely stunned. Did these stupid goblins actually set up a complex trap? Meanwhile, outside, Reika is still nervously waiting, deeply regretting not just following him earlier. Suddenly rustling, and classic anime timing, some nasty goblins appear. The poor girl almost freezes in panic, forcing herself to breathe, realizing it is just a few enemies. She should absolutely be able to solo these weaklings herself. She readies her blade, but a voice orders them back. Trust me, we definitely want to see what happens next. Let's dive right in. That weird goblin over there looks way too human. Reika is completely freezing up in pure panic. Not only is this monster built like an absolute tank, but get this, the thing can actually speak. The beast just stares her down, basically daring her to attack. Keeping her guard up, she nervously asks if he is actually a goblin. He smirks, proudly confirming that he is indeed the big boss of the horde. And just like her, he claims to be a warrior training in real martial arts. Hearing this absolutely blows Reika's mind. She realizes this is not normal. It is a monster with the raw physique and sharp intelligence of a human. Out of nowhere, the giant laughs. He asks why race even matters in martial arts, demanding they cut the small talk and get to the action. Drawing a nasty-looking spear, he challenges her. Suddenly, super confident Reika declares he is totally outclassed and charges straight at the giant beast. Meanwhile, deep inside the goblin den, our boy Asher is looking pretty injured. He blocked the trap but totally dropped his guard. Now an entire mob of ugly goblins is glaring at him and he just taunts them all. Oh, look at that, feeling pretty confident. Now watch closely. He instantly activates his glove skill to blast through them, summoning a massive magical spear right as they all charge forward. This guy is an absolute pro. Even without his usual sword, he wields that heavy weapon perfectly. But honestly, he is still sweating a bit. These annoying green pests literally just keep spawning. Flashing back to Reika's crazy showdown, the big boss admits she actually has some decent skills. Still totally stunned, Reika yells at the monster for judging a human. She unleashes a furious sword combo, completely shocked that this brute easily parries every single hit. The giant brute leaps into the air, mocking her. He claims she is using way too much raw power, making her sloppy. Mid-swing, Reika actually starts wondering if this crazy monster matches Asher's insane power level. Okay, no, that is definitely stretching it. A goblin knowing advanced swordsmanship is absurd. Getting totally serious, she busts out the legendary Ravinia sword technique. Oh, just look at that aura. She literally turned on cheat codes. The goblin leader calmly watches her flashy move and calls her a total fraud. Reika was totally confused by his trash talk. In a flash, the beast counters, instantly shattering her precious sword into tiny pieces. Barking that playtime is over, he charges forward like a freight train and blasts her completely across the battlefield. Jumping back, Asher just wiped the floor with the entire horde, completely annoyed by the huge mess these monsters made. See, these sneaky creatures always coat their rusty blades in heavy poison, and one drop wipes out hundreds. Taking a direct hit from that toxic sludge, he thinks it is game over. And just like that, he blacks out completely. Let's pause for a second. Reika gets totally wrecked. Even the monster is shocked. Her heavy armor actually kept her alive. Paralyzed, she cannot move an inch. Looming above the boss tells her to die proudly like a warrior. He winds up for the killing strike. Terrified, Reika realizes this might be the end, completely unprepared to die like this. But right before impact, something violently deflects his huge spear. Boom, Asher is magically still kicking, joking about cutting it close. The goblin boss glares at our boy, genuinely stunned and calling him insane for surviving. Shocked that this boss can speak, Asher casually mentions he already figured out their sneaky little tricks. He knows all about that classic dirty poison trick they always use. So he secretly coated his own gear with an antidote. Man, you really could have mentioned that sooner. Classic overpowered prep time. Hearing this, the boss is actually impressed by his massive brain, praising the kid for countering their flawless tactics. Propping Reika against a tree, Asher says to leave the rest to him. Standing tall, he asks if this giant is the big boss. The beast proudly introduces himself as Tarkin, a dedicated martial artist. Asher smirks, finding it wild that this goblin evolved with a human body and a sharp brain. Angry Tarkin barks that Asher is entirely at fault for ruining a completely honorable one-on-one duel. He fiercely asks if the kid is ready for the consequences. Dripping with confidence, Asher just tells him to bring it. Refusing to waste another second, the massive goblin launches his attack. He swings hard, but Asher blocks it perfectly. The beast unleashes a crazy flurry of strikes, making Asher realize this is definitely no ordinary goblin. The guy is not just blindly smashing. Every single movement is razor-sharp, refined through absolute decades of hardcore martial arts training. Trust me, you'll want to see this. He hasn't faced an opponent this insanely good in forever. Alright, stick with me. Our boy counters hard, sending this goblin flying. It is the perfect swordsmanship he always wanted. The monster admits Asher is insanely strong. A seriously lucky day for meeting humans who actually know how to fight. No more playing around. They go full power charging straight at our main character. Meanwhile, a badly injured Reika watches this entire absolute bloodbath from afar. She notices the goblin lacks elegance and zero real skill, but even then, his spear attacks are just dangerously perfect. Crazy enough that monster fights exactly like Asher. She blacks out while the goblin taunts Asher for acting tired. Asher just snaps back. He has zero time to waste chatting with monsters. The goblin swears he will never let him escape. Asher smirks, he knows he will. Right then, the whole forest catches on fire. The monster looks back. His village is burning down. Asher coldly declares he will exterminate them by any means necessary. Backed into a corner, the goblin has absolutely no choice but to run. He cannot let his people burn. They will definitely settle this score another day, bound to cross paths again. With the monsters gone, Asher walks over to Reika, silently admitting she fought pretty well. She faced a superhuman threat entirely solo after all. Now they must rush back to the capital and warn everyone about this massive goblin invasion. Back at the main castle, Karen immediately orders the guards to protect the gates. Suddenly, Asher calls out to the panicked guards, casually saying he brought something they need to see. He drops a sack. Now pay attention, what they see next makes everyone completely freeze in pure shock. Yep, a real goblin. Asher smirks, asking if this is their very first time seeing one. These things are plotting to destroy their territory. Simply put, they are coming fast and they need to prepare for all-out war right now. A whole day passes and Reika is still recovering. Waking up, she sees her worried parents hovering nearby. Venetia asks how she feels, but Reika brushes it off completely. Levox instantly demands to know if Asher dragged her out there. Reika quickly defends our boy, none of this was his fault. She chose to follow him on her own. Even when he warned her, it was basically a death trap. Because of that reckless choice, she actually gained massive combat experience and mental toughness. Plus, Asher saved her life against that insane goblin boss. He is out there risking everything, fighting for his life and the entire territory. Realizing he cannot argue with that, her father finally calms down, accepting her words. While the whole region panicked in fear, Asher boldly went out and captured a live goblin. The guy is practically a hero at this point. And I know what you're thinking, but yes, the soldiers are actually training in front of that beast. Asher watches from above, while Levox admits he specifically ordered that monster to be chained up there. This hardcore method forces the troops to conquer their fears and stay totally alert. Pivoting quickly, Levox asks for his honest assessment. Asher calmly says the troops are solid and can definitely win. The Lord sincerely thanks him from the bottom of his heart. Startled, our boy wonders if he really earned Levox's trust, humbly claiming that is way too much credit. Beyond the war prep, Levox really wants to discuss Reika. He reveals that the second she woke up, she marched straight to the training grounds to practice. She could easily live a comfortable life, yet she chooses this brutal grind. They find Reika, and her father asks if she is okay. She insists she can handle the pain. Levox sighs, calling her as stubborn as her brother. Reika scoffs, offended to be compared to Luke. That guy just hides in his room like a coward. She literally has to carry the family's strength instead. Asher stands there listening quietly, wondering if Luke got severely traumatized by what happened that one day. Regardless, they need to drag him back to reality. Suddenly, Reika asks if Asher's arm is badly injured. He shrugs it off, perfectly fine. It was just a little scratch loaded with goblin poison. Reika notes he healed fast because he came prepared. Asher warns her that goblins always coat their blades in deadly venom. They absolutely must be ready. If they stockpile enough armor and antidotes, victory is actually within their grasp. The real nightmare, though, that overpowered goblin leader. The beast fights with human-level martial arts, meaning Asher is basically the only one who can step up. Now you're going to want to see this. Deep inside a cave, that absolute beast of a leader is somehow still breathing. He knows his goblin race is naturally weak and mindless, and that is exactly why he is obsessed with gaining terrifying new power. Stick with me here. You and I are watching a goblin break his limits, gaining insane stats and brains just to protect his race. Right then, a creepy voice echoes in his skull. Kill the humans. To this big guy, that order is an absolute curse. He wonders why getting smart means suffering like this. Basically, he realizes he is just a puppet forced to follow messed up orders. But hey, silver lining. In a world totally packed with fakes and frauds, he finally met a human who is just like him. With that, the boss goblin stands up and orders everyone to gather. He gives a hype speech about wiping out humanity completely. Cut to 5 seconds later, boom, the goblin army is swarming the fortress. The soldiers panic, seeing the monster wave. Karen barks the order to raise their weapons immediately. It is their home turf. No monsters allowed. Goblins start scaling the massive walls, but the human troops are ready to push them back. Oh man, the clash gets absolutely brutal. This war is not ending anytime soon. Levak is out there waving his sword just for the cameras, screaming at everyone to stop the invasion and defend Arak's territory. Cut to Luke in his room looking like absolute garbage. Honestly, he is terrified. Right on cue, Asher pops into the room. Asher tells him to snap out of it. Literally everyone in the castle is fighting off goblins right now. But the poor kid is frozen. He cries that he cannot do anything to help in a real fight. He is not overpowered like him and Reika. He feels completely useless, just a fake successor for Arak's territory on paper. You and I both know his self-esteem is basically underground right now. Asher sees it too. He really needs to find a way to strengthen that weak heart. Asher tosses his sword straight at him. He tells Luke to catch, asking if he will really just sit there while their land burns. How can a coward ever rule? He is supposed to be the future lord of this land, which means it is time to step up. The kid just stares blankly at the blade. Finally, a spark of real determination hits his eyes. Wasting zero time, he rushes out. Meanwhile, the bloody battle rages on. Suddenly, sneaky goblins ambush Karen from behind. Boom! Reika jumps in to save the day. She asks for a status report, and the guard claims they totally have the advantage. The goblins have crazy numbers, sure, but their strength and teamwork are hot garbage. The Arak soldiers are holding the line perfectly. The guard is super confident they are going to win easily. But Reika knows better. The real danger is still hiding, and they have a long way to go. Speak of the devil, the boss goblin walks up. He sighs, realizing his grunts cannot take this massive castle alone. Still, his little brothers did their job well. Now it is his turn to take over. Over at the wall, soldiers think they actually won. But Karen yells at everyone to stay sharp and heal the wounded. But right at that exact second, the massive boss goblin makes his epic entrance. Mocking their sloppy defenses, he blasts through several soldiers. Reika instantly knows this guy is the actual goblin leader. Pure chaos breaks out. Karen orders a full charge, but Reika screams at them to stop. This monster is totally different. Tragically, it is way too late to cancel that attack order. Watch closely here because you and I cannot miss this. The soldiers charge, but the monster calls them all frauds. In literal seconds, he massacres a huge chunk of troops. Karen is stunned. The big guy just walks forward calmly. He recognizes her from the forest. Then he casually asks if the guy standing next to her is leading these weaklings. What a joke. He has absolutely zero business with fakes. He demands they hand over the real deal right now. Karen is totally confused and asks what he means. The boss wants Asher. Why? Because the protagonist is the only true swordsman here. He growls, ordering them to bring him immediately. Karen refuses instantly. Over his dead body. Meanwhile, Reika is sweating, warning everyone that this goblin is ridiculously dangerous. But the cocky guard tells her to chill. He thinks a filthy monster could never possibly beat top-tier human swordsmanship. The boss dares him to bring his absolute best. So Karen charges in with everything. Their blades slam together. The guard talks big, claiming he is taking this monster's head home. Reika watches nervously from the back. After all, Karen is an elite swordsman officially recognized across the whole empire. But the boss treats him like a literal toddler. He admits the guard has some warrior spirit, but it is just not enough. The guard is absolutely stunned. A split second later, he gets violently launched backward. Armor shattered. He is completely pinned. The boss calls him a trickster. Trust me, you and I need the next part. Stick with me here. This absolute lunatic really can't win a fight, huh? But obviously Reika wasn't about to let that happen so easily. Right on cue, our main character finally shows up. The goblin smirks, claiming he was waiting for him. Asher totally agrees. Their business is far from finished. Our boy slowly draws his blade, looking dead serious, and basically dares this giant green menace to bring absolutely everything it has to the table. But the creature scoffs. Human sword skills, total garbage compared to his. He declares our guy is the only human actually worth his time. Clang, their blades violently collide, and the monster gets way too excited, screaming that this is the real swordsmanship he wanted. It's a straight-up battle of pure skill. Meanwhile, Reika is busy backing up Karen. Just then, Luke suddenly runs out. The totally panicked guard yells that it is way too dangerous out here and begs him to hide inside the castle. But the kid refuses. As the territory's heir, he absolutely cannot just sit back. He might be useless in a fight, but he is staying right on the battlefield. Pivoting hard, he asks where Asher went. Reika points out he is busy soloing the goblin boss. Back to the fight, the goblin laughs, hyping up how fun a real trick-free battle actually is. Asher takes the opening to casually ask a quick question. What exactly does he mean by deception? The goblin bluntly replies human sword techniques. Humanity worships heroes carrying completely fake power. How could their skills possibly be genuine? Now pay attention here. Our boy is stunned, genuinely wondering if the legendary heroic techniques that supposedly break human limits are actually just fake. But the goblin admits Asher is built different. He actually reached the purest form of the blade. Because of that, he is the only opponent worth fighting today. Without warning, the beast charges straight at Asher, who is still standing there completely confused. So basically hero skills are fake, but imperial skills are the real deal. Asher forces a smile, instantly realizing that logic is completely flawed. Blocking the massive spear with ease, Asher casually mentions that this goblin is surprisingly smart. Still, judging human skills by assuming they must break mortal limits is just wrong. Those past heroes literally saved the entire world. Nobody can surpass their maxed out power levels. Honestly, Asher admits he isn't even a true master himself. In his past life, he basically died right after hitting the level he spent decades grinding for. Long story short, he is just a boomer who spams imperial techniques. He roasts the goblin, saying his moves only look advanced to a barbaric monster. But this creature clearly has no idea what humanity's actual limits or true power look like. In a flash, our boy lands a devastating critical hit. The goblin is instantly bleeding out. Unbothered, Asher flat out calls the boss weak. The massive monster completely collapses in seconds, while the rest of the squad watches the entire beatdown from a safe distance. Surprisingly, the beast was still completely awake. As it struggles up, Asher casually looms over it. 1 inch deeper and it would be game over. But lucky for the goblin, Asher isn't going for the kill today. Instead, he is getting locked up and put on trial. Knowing he is totally cooked, the monster accepts his massive defeat. The human won, he can do whatever. You and I are probably wondering the exact same thing. Asher asks next, why even invade them? The goblin bluntly confesses he was just following orders. The demons were pulling the strings, sending him to supposedly liberate his people and attack humanity. Asher realizes this sounds exactly like the previous demonic war. Back in the day, monsters also attacked under demon control. The Demon King orchestrated all of it, which practically confirms that the big boss has indeed respawned. Defeated, the goblin admits the harsh truth. He is literally just a meat puppet for a higher power. He used to be just another basic mob character, but his higher IQ let him actually grind and level up his spear skills beyond normal limits. Thanks to that, he constantly picked fights with other races for practice. But let's be real, goblins are still absolute trash-tier monsters at the very bottom of the food chain. No matter how hard he trained, his stats were racially capped. Until one random day, a so-called blessed savior showed up, who was obviously just a high-ranking demon. This demon handed him massive brain and body upgrades. The catch, he had to lead an invasion against the humans. But since he got completely humbled today, he can't exactly go crawling back. Looks like he is going on a mandatory tour of human prison facilities instead. Asher promises him a very secure escort. With the drama finally over, the boss is officially locked up. The guards are absolutely hyped about surviving, bragging that humans are the superior race. Reika notes the goblin is weirdly chill about it. Asher says he just accepted the loss, thankful that for today at least, they are safe. But the Demon King's return means an insanely huge crisis is brewing. A full day passes and the broken castle walls are slowly getting patched back up. Leo sincerely thanks our boy, totally grateful that he saved their massive mansion. Asher plays it cool, saying he just did his job. But that's where we leave it. Luke is healing up nicely, but trust me, you and I know this peace won't last long. Stick with me here. He even helps soldiers repair those walls. Meanwhile, Karen is watching that goblin like a hawk. But man, something feels totally off. Asher plans to ship him to the Empire for investigating. Then Levak randomly hands over a message. Because of that whole mimic and goblin disaster, the Empire noticed the mess. Yep, they are sending someone down. Fancy carriages roll through town, leaving all the villagers completely curious. They actually thought it might be Hibben himself. But the person chilling inside that carriage, definitely not human. Cut to our guy training hard. Reika asks if she should learn imperial swordsmanship, but Asher notes she avoids it. The girl admits that watching him fight totally proves how awesome imperial swordsmanship really is. Even so, Asher bluntly warns her that she will be disappointed. Flashback to his past life. Tons of eager kids wanted to be his disciple, but he only taught them super boring repetitive basic strikes with zero flashy moves. Naturally, almost everyone quit out of frustration except for one stubborn boy. Thinking back on it, he wonders how that kid is doing today. Reika brings up the Empire guests, which Asher already knows. But get this, the guard captain is a dark elf. Now pay attention here. Hearing that leaves our boy totally shocked. Meanwhile, back inside the castle, Levak welcomes the newly arrived VIP group. The girl introduces herself politely. She is Ina Vasilis, the actual captain of the guard. Boom, sudden flashback. Asher stares at a location completely consumed by raging flames. Hibben calls out to him bluntly, stating that these elves basically burned their own lives away. The dark elves were fully wiped out. Asher thinks they totally deserved it since their elder almost caused a literal apocalypse. Hibben tells him his job is done, and to head home safely, but to call if anything else pops up. Shortly after, our boy is walking solo through the creepy woods when he suddenly hears a strange noise. It actually sounds like a crying kid. Pushing deeper into the trees, he accidentally stumbles upon a dark elf. Her fancy clothes scream elder status. Unbelievably, she used her last breath to save her little daughter. He seriously wonders what terrible sin this kid committed to suffer like this. Surprisingly, Asher offers his hand to the kid, asking for her name. And I know exactly what you are thinking. Yep, this dark elf is the exact girl our hero saved. Back to the present, that same girl just met up with Asher's group. Levac proudly introduces our boy, hyping him up as the elite swordsman who totally crushed the goblin threat. Aina locks eyes with our guy smoothly, saying it is a pleasure to meet him. They awkwardly exchange greetings. Later, Levac leaves Asher to explain the situation. Sitting across the table, Asher is sweating over how weird this is. I mean, he is basically staring down his adopted daughter from his past life. Aina is the last surviving dark elf. Decades ago, the dark elf elder despised humanity so much she tried to destroy the entire world. She used super forbidden magic to summon terrifying monsters from another dimension. Obviously, she completely failed to control those beasts, which ended up wiping out the entire dark elf race. The elder got absorbed and the heroes barely managed to stop her. Our boy burned down the corrupted forest to stop the infection and ended up adopting the orphaned little Aina. She always trailed behind him silently, never showing much affection. Honestly, he never pushed for a father-daughter bond either. After all, humans literally torched her home and killed her family. It made perfect sense for her to hate him. Yet ironically, she copied his exact career path and somehow ended up as the badass guard captain. Breaking the silence, Aina tells our hero she is only here on official orders from Lord Hibben. Hibben could not make it, so he sent her instead. Cutting to the chase, she drops a bomb. The Empire completely distrusts him right now. She carries massive top-secret intel. Even with him being Hibben's disciple, she cannot just spill the beans right away. Asher totally gets it though. A random kid showing up to flex on demons is insanely suspicious behavior. From the Empire's view, that just looks incredibly sketchy. Aina admits Hibben vouched for his crazy swordsmanship, so she demands a live demonstration. Plus, it is a direct order from the Empire. Asher stays totally silent, thinking she already knows his sword moves perfectly. She watched him constantly. Trust me, you are going to want to see this. Alright, stick with me here. Our boy grips his sword, triggering a flashback where Hibben swears this kid feels exactly like his dad. Arena isn't buying it at all, but Hibben insists the guy's crazy swordsmanship and even his speech patterns an exact match. If so, she needs to see it with her own eyes. Snapping back to the present, she watches him totally convinced it is impossible for some random kid to perfectly mirror her late father. So yeah, she is literally looking at our main character like a dad figure. Anyway, Asher casually announces the demonstration is starting. He immediately starts his sword routine. Every single strike is calculated and deadly, while the girl watches his every move like a hawk. Right then and there, the absolute similarity hits her hard. Because duh, they are literally the exact same person. She has no clue, though completely mesmerized by his insane sword skills. A bit later, Leok pulls his daughter aside to drop some huge news. She actually got an acceptance letter from the academy. Hand-delivered by the Imperial Guard captain himself, Reika is absolutely over the moon, thanking him for making it happen. Her dad proudly says a proper education will push her talents to the absolute limit. Plus, since they are heading to the capital soon, it is time to start packing. Strolling down the hall, she is completely glowing. Getting into a place like that honestly feels like a literal dream. We are talking about the top-tier Imperial Academy, the most prestigious school around, famous for producing absolute beastmaster swordsmen. Countless elite fighters from across the entire kingdom gather there. Now pay attention here, she thinks our boy should totally come too. I mean, he is clearly the biggest talent in the entire empire. She decides she needs to convince him to join her at the academy. Surely a guy like him wants to see the bigger world. Meanwhile, our boy is just endlessly grinding. Talk about absolute discipline. His mind is still on his adopted daughter, cueing a quick flashback. After wrapping up his insane demonstration, he straight up asked if her doubts were finally cleared. But the poor girl just panics and runs away. Back in the present, Asher figures she was just overwhelmed. I mean, seeing some random kid flawlessly execute her dead dad's signature moves. Yeah, that is definitely pure shock. Suddenly, Asher senses a presence. He turns and asks just how long she has been hiding there. Super flustered, she immediately apologizes for interrupting. Asher brushes it off, realizing she has just been quietly watching him train this whole time. Quickly changing the subject, she sincerely thanks him for actually agreeing to show off his skills. She admits his technique perfectly mirrors someone she knew well. That is exactly why she completely blanked out earlier, apologizing for totally failing to explain herself properly. Asher casually says he is glad it was nothing serious. He asks if her little evaluation is done, and she nods yes. Turns out she completely trusts him now and drops highly classified imperial secrets. She explains that back in the ancient age of wars, legendary heroes protected everything like that overpowered mage who wiped out the demon race. But right now, those heroes are completely missing. And the rulers of the land just suddenly vanished after destroying their own territories. Plus, as he already knows, Valbara got completely swallowed by the demon race. The northern region is getting hit the absolute hardest, all because Ravinia is completely absent. Thanks to that, regional control has totally collapsed, and absolute hordes of monsters are swarming the entire territory. Making things 10 times worse, all communication with the Archmages and the Dragon Slayer castles is completely dead. Let that sink in for a second. The world is literal chaos, but Asher, he thinks this was entirely expected. He asks what happened to Hibben. Irina says he straight up left the Empire. He got a direct imperial order to track down the hero and monitor the global crisis. Before leaving, he told her to warn Asher. Now she wants to know his big plan. Isn't he going to step up and help save this broken world? Our guy gets quiet for a second. Is she really asking him to fight another apocalyptic crisis all over again? Well, spoiler alert, he is going to do absolutely nothing. He honestly refuses to waste time playing the honorable savior. In his mind, he is no hero. The only thing he cares about is mastering the blade. And that is his permanent mindset moving forward. Just him and his sword. He never got to be a hero before, and he is definitely not starting now. The only thing he plans on doing is slicing through anyone in his way. Surprised at first, the girl eventually just nods and accepts his crazy answer. She mentions Hibben actually warned her about this. He said Asher would never change, destined to spend his whole life swinging a sword. In that way, he perfectly mirrors someone she used to know. Asher just quietly watches her talk, recognizing her as a genuine friend. He totally knows that she knows. Irina then asks about his next big move. Asher casually replies he is heading to the Gate of Swords. Deep down, he needs to uncover the real secret behind his reincarnation. If that guy is there, he might finally get some answers. But why go there? Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Grab a snack and stick with me. Reika calls our guy over, waving her Imperial Academy acceptance letter and begging him to tag along. Hearing this, Irina instantly jumps on the chance. She says it sounds super fun and totally pushes him to join their trip to the Empire. Asher thinks about it for a second, then he actually accepts. After all, hanging out a bit longer couldn't hurt. Because eventually, he's going to have to say goodbye to Reika anyway. With plans set, Reika prepares for the Imperial Academy. A huge crowd gathers just to wish her luck on a bright future. It seriously looks more like a wedding celebration at this point, with the entire squad gathered around. Her family is there saying their goodbyes. Lavok tells her to relax about the territory because Karen and Luke will protect it. Honestly, you can't even tell Luke was totally depressed just a few chapters ago. He really hopes she becomes the Empire's best swordswoman. Meanwhile, Asher is busy wondering how the demons woke up. So many questions are buzzing in his brain, so he plans to head out and hunt down all the answers himself. Honestly, he wanted to just chill, but these mysteries are going to block his path eventually, so he has to handle this mess personally. Lavok tells them to be careful during the transport. And yep, that miserable goblin is finally getting hauled away. Irina glares at the monster coldly, stating that once the investigation wraps up, he will be locked in the Empire prison for life. The monster stays totally stoic. He says he lost the fight so they can do whatever the heck they want. So after all that crazy drama, the carriage finally rolls out. Everyone is just glaring at the goblin who wrecked their territory. They all look down on him in disgust. The monster knows prison will be rough, but he still thinks he'll break free. Gotta admit, this goblin is insanely optimistic. Later in the ride, Reika asks how Irina ever became captain of the Imperial Guard. It must have been ridiculously hard for a dark elf to adapt to human society. Irina smiles and says she only took the captain job to follow in the legendary footsteps of someone she deeply respected. Now you and I definitely know exactly who she means. Reika asks who this hero was. Irina explains it was the father figure who raised her for her entire life. Dark elves naturally despised humans. That was the only truth she was ever taught. But when her entire race got wiped out, one single person approached her. She was the sole survivor, and this guy walked up without a single trace of hostility. That man was the previous captain of the Imperial Guard. Basically, he took her in and raised her just like his own daughter. He looked super strict on the outside, but inside, a total softie. His intense self-discipline became her absolute inspiration growing up. But tragically, he passed away. Still, that heroic image of him lives forever in her heart. Hearing this backstory, Asher casually asks if the guy he supposedly resembles is this father. She nods, so Asher asks what exact traits she respected. Irina looks thoughtful for a second, then proudly answers that it was his swordsmanship. He was never officially called a hero, but he reached an absolutely godlike level of swordsmanship through pure lifelong training. She admired him for that grind. She wanted to mirror his strength. Simply by copying his sword style, she managed to earn this elite position. Asher instantly feels like a massive idiot. This whole time, he seriously thought she hated him, but in reality, she absolutely adored him. Reika then smiles and says that if he was that amazing, her dad probably reincarnated somewhere. You felt that sweet moment, right? Bam, someone screams for help. The guy cries that bandits are attacking his nearby village and kidnapping innocent people. Wasting zero time, our MC jumps right out of the carriage. He declares he will check the situation personally. Reika volunteers to help out. Arena tells them to take care, but then the goblin suddenly speaks up. Those are actually demons. This isn't just some random human bandit raid. Arena might not sense it, but the goblin feels a very familiar, nasty demonic aura. They really need to be careful. The scene cuts to the village, and wow, it is absolutely destroyed. Asher and Reika watch from afar. She looks horrified, asking who the hell would do something like this. Looking to the side, they spot some trash humans tossing innocent people into a prison wagon. One kidnapper looks back, but Asher instantly cuts him down in literally seconds. The others charge in, and Reika asks if they are bandits. Asher coldly corrects her. They are human traffickers, a filthy criminal organization that kidnaps locals and sells them across continents. He remembers dealing with absolute scumbags exactly like this back in his past life. After all, there are corrupt places where this dark business is discreetly allowed. But under imperial law, selling humans means an instant death sentence. So what does that mean for us? We're about to watch him legally slaughter everyone here. Alright, let's jump straight back into the madness. Asher starts slicing everyone up, and Reika actually joins the bloodbath. Totally legal now, by the way. These traffickers drop like flies, and Asher wipes them out with zero mercy. The hostages are finally free, crying happy tears. Then Arena drops in, checking if everyone is okay. Asher points out these poor people have no homes left. He suggests escorting them straight to the Empire for shelter. Arena totally agrees and leads the villagers away. Boom, problem solved. Look at them go. Right then, a tiny voice calls Asher brother. He looks down and sees it is literally just a kid. The boy thanks him for the rescue. Asher realizes these creeps were kidnapping kids. Could have been a total disaster, but he just plays it cool, saying it was his job. But wait, Asher spots something on the boy. He totally recognizes that weird mark. The gears are turning in his head. Who is this kid? Scene change, Asher sits down and asks the real questions. Is this Lord Crocus guy actually the master of the depths in the Empire? The girl completely freezes. How does he know that? Asher shrugs, saying Lord Hibben told him. That forehead mark is a dead giveaway. It proves this little kid is the official successor to the master of the depths. This guy is basically the underground hero. There is a massive demon rift right under the Empire. It used to be a super dangerous invasion route that could wipe out the surface world. So the master of the depths has one job: keep that demon rift sealed tight with magic. Pay close attention here, guys. This man is the secret hero keeping the entire world from literally ending. But he has to live underground forever. Arena explains they kept this top secret to avoid mass panic. Lord Crocus is an absolute legend. He is down there right now blocking demon waves from breaking through to the surface. Meanwhile, Goblin is eavesdropping from the shadows. He nods to himself, putting the puzzle pieces together. That crazy demonic energy from earlier, it was totally leaking from the kid. The boy is doomed to breathe demon air forever. Honestly, Goblin finds the whole vibe super nostalgic. Cut to the carriage ride. Arena leans in and finally asks the little guy for his name. He says his name is Garen. He was just taking a fun little vacation before his big, gloomy succession ceremony underground. He stopped at the village and boom, those ugly traffickers snatched him up. Talk about bad luck. Asher says he got super lucky. Reika points out that living underground forever sounds absolutely miserable. But Garen just smiles and says it is fine because surviving on the surface was honestly way worse anyway. Classic tragic backstory incoming. He was a homeless orphan begging for coins all day and sleeping in dark, cold alleys. But plot twist, that random alley was actually the secret back door to Lord Crocus and his domain. The place was flooding with toxic demon energy, keeping normal folks away. So he just moved in with the old guy and became his loyal student. Fast forward a few years, the old master casually drops the successor title right into his lap. With nowhere to go and mad respect for his teacher, Garen just shrugged and accepted his dark underground fate. Back to the present, Reika admits that sounds rough. Garen says once they hit the Empire, he will meet his master and officially take the job. Meanwhile, our main guy spaces out. He remembers how back in the day they all served together in Eric territory. You and I know that feeling. He honestly has not seen him since that Empire succession ceremony. The dude must look super old now. Asher really hopes he can run into his old buddy again. Fast forward, they finally roll into the Empire and the royal guards are already lined up to welcome Arena. She points to the rescued villagers and orders the guards to set up some nice, cozy, temporary rooms for them. Little Garen gives them a huge thank you, waves goodbye, and heads off on his own path. Arena turns to our duo. She promises to give them the grand tour of the Empire tomorrow morning. For now, she is just going to drop them off at their hotel rooms for the night. Later on, Asher chills in his room. The nostalgia hits hard. This is the exact same dorm he used when he worked here. Literally nothing has changed. Plopping onto the bed, he mutters to himself, wondering why his contact is running so late. Suddenly, Cyros pops out of thin air. Asher just rolls his eyes. His stealth skills are honestly pathetic. Cyros just laughs it off. Asher asks if he actually found the missing hero, and the guy smirks. Obviously, he did his homework. He whips out some stolen Empire files. Top secret stuff. It shows exactly when the heroes vanished and where their territories are located. Wow, color me shocked. Cyros is actually doing his job. But trust me, things are getting wild. The castle vibe is terrible because apparently the Master of the Depths just mysteriously vanished. Alright, grab a snack and let's jump right back in. Asher is eating, but Reika suddenly mentions that Arena is nowhere to be found. She really wanted to grab breakfast with her, especially since she promised to guide them straight to the Empire today. Right on cue, a soldier steps up. He introduces himself as Kane, the captain of the security squad, saying he'll be their official escort instead. Reika looks confused and asks about Arena. Kane simply replies that the captain had urgent business to handle, so he's taking them to the academy. Hearing this, Asher instantly connects the dots in his head. He figures she probably went searching for Crocus. Fast forward a bit, and Reika is absolutely starstruck by the Empire capital, calling it super fancy. Big cities just hit entirely differently. Asher quietly thinks about how the Empire has stayed peaceful only because Crocus spent years defending the entire world from the Demon Realm's forces. And with the huge succession ceremony right around the corner, there's zero chance he just vanished without a trace. Something else is definitely happening. Reika quickly notices his heavy expression, but he brushes it off as nothing. Kane chuckles, guessing he's probably just feeling homesick in this huge city. Kane promises they're almost at the academy and says he'll ensure they get comfortable. Asher just nods, realizing that coming back here feels surprisingly natural. After all, he spent most of his life right here in the Empire. Moments later, Reika gasps, saying the place looks way bigger than Ariake Castle. Looking at the huge buildings, Asher gets pretty nostalgic. It really has been a while since he saw the academy. This is literally where he and Hibon burned through their entire youth. Cut to the academy interior. The older woman there mentions she had originally wondered where Reika came from, but now she realizes she is from the exact same territory as Karen. Reika excitedly asks if she knows the guard. The woman proudly replies yes, bragging that he is a first-rate swordsman totally raised by this very academy. Honestly, she firmly believes nobody in the whole empire could ever defeat him since he's her partner. So, how do you and I break the news that our main character absolutely crushed him? Moving on, she explains the academy rejects talentless students. The entrance exam is a literal duel. She asks if Reika wants to participate, and without hesitating for even a second, Reika confidently says yes. With that sorted out, the old woman smiles and offers to guide them to the arena. Asher suddenly calls out to Reika, explaining he has to go take care of some personal errands and needs to leave her alone for a bit. Pouting slightly, Reika says she wanted him to watch her duel. Asher just smiles, saying there is absolutely no way she could ever fail. With things settled, Asher quietly asks the guard to keep a close eye on her. He immediately walks off, locked in on finding the legendary sword gate. Meanwhile, a few minutes later, Reika steps right onto the academy's combat testing grounds. A stern man introduces himself as the professor in charge of rookies. He bluntly states he definitely will not go easy on her just for being noble, because in front of a blade, everyone is equal. If she can block his strike and land just one valid hit, she passes the test. The guy readies his stance. Standing nearby, the old woman casually drops the fact that this professor actually used to be an elite imperial knight. Kane watches closely from the sidelines, knowing the academy's entrance exam is famous for being brutally difficult. You're probably wondering just how strong Reika actually is now. Watch this closely. She is the main character's disciple for a reason. The professor charges forward, but she is already swinging her blade. Bam. Seconds later, half a sword flies shattered into the air. And yeah, Reika just completely destroyed him in one go. Pure shock hits the crowd. A rookie literally just humiliated a veteran professor. The guy is flat on the ground while Reika stands there blinking, completely confused by her own strength. Honestly, that guy was just way too weak for her. The supervisor stands there speechless, but officially passes her anyway. We shift back to the city limits. Asher realizes he has finally reached the Blessed Sword Gate, a legendary spot coveted by global swordsmen. To get inside, you literally have to break through 3 massive gates. Only pure master-level swordsmen can open them. And every time you unlock one gate, another heavily guarded door appears. Countless warriors come here to test their limits, but so far, not a single person has ever reached the inner sanctum. First-rate fighters barely manage to pass the first door, and insanely enough, not even Hibon could pry open the final gate. The space past the third gate remains a total mystery. Cut right to this sacred spot. A crowd is watching people try to push the gate open, and honestly, that poor dude is definitely not getting through. But right at that exact moment, Asher steps up. A blonde guy laughs, asking if he actually plans to try the sword gate. Asher just shrugs completely casually, saying that's exactly what he's here for. The guy warns him it's basically impossible. He points out the academy's absolute best student who has been sweating over this door for a solid hour with zero luck. Asher taps the gate and boom, it opens. Honestly, what did you and I even expect? Trust me, you and I are going to love this. The kid completely shatters the gate, leaving everyone confused. He remembers easily clearing this first trial in his past life. He completely destroys the second one too and then opens the third gate. A legendary feat that even Master Swordsman couldn't pull off. Just like that, he steps into the unknown, hidden space beyond it. Back then, he wasn't anybody special, just a regular captain of the Imperial Guard. But that's exactly how he met a very interesting character. Walking inside, he looks right at a glowing blade and casually says, "It has been a while, Enser." Out of nowhere, the sword literally talks. It asks if he is the guard captain. Asher just smiles and says it has been 40 years. Yeah, this is the exact same talking sword from his past life. And get this, it's a magical being that can actually read human souls. He hopes it has some answers. The sword immediately notices something is off, asking why he suddenly looks like a literal kid. Our main character explains that his soul did not change, but he got reincarnated into the body of this boy named Asher. That is exactly why he came here. He wants to uncover the real reason behind his crazy reincarnation. The sword agrees to help, asking to take a much closer look right into his soul. Suddenly, crazy bright lights explode everywhere. The sword pauses, saying something feels off because a seriously sinister energy is radiating from him. Basically, a monstrous being with pure evil power definitely messed with his soul. Watch closely because things get intense here. The sword knows this is bad news, while our boy immediately suspects it was marijuana. For context, that guy leads the deadly Motorola Assassin Guild and is basically the most evil villain around. The sword pieces it together, explaining that evil gods can mess with human souls, and this guy probably tried to steal Asher's completely. Before dying in his past life, he had reached Master Swordsman level. Normally, a true master merges their aura and soul into one, but since he died right before finishing the process, his soul never fully bonded with his aura. So, to this evil god, having a master's soul without aura defense basically makes him the absolute perfect, easy target. Asher just smirks. A new body does not mean those villains are going to take him down easily. At least the mystery is solved. Now he knows he must find and confront this enemy face to face. With everything settled, our boy turns to leave. The sword is totally shocked that it was so fast. Asher casually replies that he is super busy right now, but he will visit before heading to the Empire. But the sword practically begs to be pulled out. It is absolutely losing its mind after being stuck underground for decades. I know what you're thinking. Didn't they try this before? Asher reminds the sword that pulling it out failed miserably multiple times in his past life. The sword hyped him up, saying things are totally different now since he reached the Master Swordsman tier. That actually convinces him. He grabs the hilt, realizing the blade feels incredibly light, way different from his past attempts. Boom! A massive glowing aura explodes as the legendary sword is finally freed from the stone. The blinding light fades and we cut right back to the dorms. Reika asks where he has been all day. Asher casually replies it was nothing despite being completely covered in dirt. Deflecting the question, he asks her how things went down back at the academy today. She happily brags that she passed with flying colors. The professor looked super tough, but she completely knocked him out with just one single punch. Honestly, the test was a total breeze for her. Hearing this, Kane mentions that the Iraq County is packed with some seriously talented fighters. With the daily recap done, the girl calls it a night, and everyone heads off. Meanwhile, a strange figure has been watching them the whole time, yet absolutely nobody in the room even noticed. Asher sighs. Of course, they did not see him. He is invisible. The legendary sword literally transformed into a floating spirit. Later on, Asher asks if this is his first time seeing the human world. The spirit says he barely remembers it from before getting locked in the gate. Either way, that gate is totally wrecked now, but the spirit is just thrilled they got out safely. Asher complains that the escape ruined his clothes, but the spirit laughs, saying the important thing is that he is finally free. Before he forgets, the spirit mentions sensing a seriously unpleasant vibe. Asher nods, confirming his suspicions. He reveals that right beneath the Empire, there is a hidden portal straight to the demon world. The person guarding that portal recently vanished. Now the barrier is failing, and pure demonic energy is leaking right into the human realm. That missing guard was the Empire's secret protector, and Asher honestly really wants to figure out where the heck he went. But the spirit drops a bombshell. It is not just demonic energy down there. He senses raw black magic capable of destroying the world. We instantly cut to the castle's dark underground. Irina warns her team that the dark demonic energy is rapidly getting stronger. She yells to stay alert. Suddenly a guard gets completely knocked out. Stick with me because this underground battle is about to get completely insane. Stick with me here because a smug demon just walked out of that portal asking if they came for a casual stroll. Back with Asher, he asks the spirit about sensing that black magic. The spirit confirms it that dark energy right there is pure demon power. Black magic is the ultimate dark force in this world, literally capable of bringing total destruction, and someone is using that exact dark energy right now to expand the portal and spread it. Asher realizes instantly if the energy is already spreading this fast, the underground has completely fallen to the demons. Right then, the two of them hear a frantic voice. It is Garen shouting that he desperately needs to see his master. Asher steps up to the scene asking what on earth is going on. The kid begs for help because his master literally just vanished into thin air. Our main character then quickly explains that this boy is actually the successor to the Abyss Lord. He spots the guard captain blocking the entrance and demands that he let the two of them pass through immediately. The guard frantically insists they cannot enter since only highly trained fighters can survive that heavy demonic aura. But the spirit chimes in saying Asher has already reached that crazy level of training, so they are good to go. A bit later, the camera cuts back to our favorite captive goblin asking if Asher came looking for him. Asher makes a deal. If the goblin helps him out with this massive mess, he will get the Empire to officially free him. But there is a catch: he has to swear to never attack humans again. Tarkin flexes his warrior pride, swearing by his unbreakable honor and loyalty. Our boy flashes a confident smirk, demanding the guards unchain the goblin right this second. The guard hesitates, claiming he needs the captain to approve this. But remember, our boy is the personal apprentice of the Empire Master Swordsman. So honestly, Asher is literally the only person here they can actually trust. Watch closely now. Tarkin gets freed, points out the underground entrance, and confirms it completely reeks of pure demonic energy. As they step into the dark tunnel, Garam checks on Asher. The demonic pressure in here is spiking fast, making it super hard to even breathe. Our boy replies that he is completely fine. The goblin nods, saying this is exactly what you expect from a true swordsman. A regular human would have already gone completely insane from this exposure. Suddenly, the monster spots something weird up ahead. Is that the elf woman on the ground? Without hesitating, our boy rushes over asking if Orion is okay. He quickly realizes she is fortunately not seriously injured. In the middle of this crazy situation, the girl asks what Asher is doing down here, especially with that goblin. Asher explains his demonic energy resistance makes him a huge help right now. So yeah, they are all pushing forward as a team. A bit further down the path, the goblin stops. He senses demons nearby. Honestly, it feels exactly like the creepy brainwashing magic that controlled him earlier. Right at that second, Asher hears a noise. No hesitation, no panic, he instantly pulls out his weapons ready to fight. A creepy laugh echoes through the cave, and boom, a demon finally steps out. The crazy demon girl asks what they are looking at, teasing them about whether they came to play with her again. She arrogantly declares they will all be dead in one hit anyway, and just like that, she charges straight at our protagonist. Meanwhile, everyone outside hears the massive crash. Garam starts stressing out, wondering if his master is okay. Either way, he has to see for himself. Arena steps up saying she is coming too. The scene jumps to an old man spotting Garen running up. He yells at him to hurry it up so they can finally start the big succession ritual. I know what you were thinking, an epic clash, right? Asher blocks, but suddenly the demon straight up vanishes. But plot twist, that crazy demon gets completely flattened in one hit. Asher asks who this clown is, and Tarkin calls her a pathetic lower-class demon. She is literally not even worth their time. Asher steps up demanding to know who sent her here. She smirks, claiming she just saw the portal and dropped in for fun. Right then, Arena and Garen burst onto the scene. Seeing them, the demon gets sneaky and summons another monster beside her. The goblin groans, calling this a massive pain. And right after that, Asher gets blasted hard against the wall. The demon cracks up laughing, totally convinced she just won. She smugly yells that monsters are her slaves, so they have to obey her commands. To put it simply, she orders them to slaughter those two humans so they can go wreck the human world as a team. Hearing that nonsense, Tarkin is completely furious. He glares at her, asking if she seriously thinks her weak trash power can control him. In literally 2 seconds, he blitzes the demon, throwing her aside like totally worthless garbage. Right then, a massive explosion rocks the cave, and the demon gets blasted straight back into the portal. Arena panics, checking on Asher, but the spirit reveals he just faked passing out to avoid fighting. The spirit figures our boy just wanted to test if the goblin would actually betray the demon. You and I both knew it. Asher casually confirms he never joined the demons. Tarkin drops the tough guy line. He is a warrior, so he keeps his word. Plus, he absolutely despises those demons anyway. Let's dive right into this mess. The crew finally hits a massive door. Arena points out this is the underground fortress hiding the portal, and Asher figures since the demons are down, it's time to hunt down Crocus. Garen pushes the heavy doors wide open, and boom, he's staring right at his old master. Panicking, the kid asks what happened, thinking he was a goner. But the old geezer just brushes it off, claiming he is perfectly fine. Asher hangs back watching this whole reunion play out. It has been a seriously long time. Crocus spots the guard captain, and Arena sighs in relief seeing him alive. But our goblin buddy, his spidey senses are tingling. Something is completely off here. Arena drops, the mission details, the Empire is basically doomed thanks to endless demon waves, and they need his help. She literally drops to her knees begging for the power to save her home. The old man looks super dramatic, and then flat out says no. He whines about spending his whole life as the Abyss Master. He yells about being shackled to this awful job, completely sick of rotting away in this dark, miserable underground prison. Now pay close attention, here comes the plot twist. A flashback hits, showing a guy actually thanking Asher. Past Asher asks if he is really heading down there forever. Like, isn't living underground going to absolutely suck? But the guy plays the hero card. Someone has to protect the Empire. He wanted to make his demon-slain parents proud, which was enough for him. Fast forward to now, and our boy realizes this hero has completely lost his mind. Pivoting hard, Asher points and asks the spirit what those freaky things are. The spirit explains they are border creatures, totally ancient primordial freaks that literally act as the main battery and flesh for all demon kind out there. Worse, that fake hero of the depths is absorbing those demons to juice himself up with dark magic. The crazy old man commands his new demon pets to attack, and one lunges straight for poor Arena. But Tarkin swoops in blocking the hit. He yells at her to snap out of it and raise her sword. This guy is 0% hero and 100% monster. Right then, the goblin shouts at our protagonist, telling him to leave the mob to them and go rescue that poor kid. Because Garen and that old psycho had straight up vanished. Cut to a creepy new spot. The Abyss Master announces it is finally time to start the big succession ceremony. The kid begs to know why, and the geezer basically says he is just exhausted. Being stuck down here as ruler means staring at rock walls forever in pure darkness. Honestly, he claims he never really wanted to force this awful, depressing life onto his own student. But Garen is super confused. He asks why it is miserable when he only volunteered because he idolized the guy. The old man nods, getting exactly where he is coming from. Sure, the Empire cheers for him as a hero on paper, but behind his back, they totally treat him like garbage for using demonic energy. It is basically a shady criminal's life just slapped with a fake hero sticker. You and I both know villain logic, right? His grand escape plan is literally just turning the whole world into his prison. Meanwhile, Arena is busy slicing up demons. The goblin watches from a distance, actually impressed, thinking her moves look weirdly close to real sword mastery. We snap back to our boy Asher, staring down a massive glowing black circle. Spotting the magical barrier, he asks his spirit buddy if he can smash it. The spirit hypes him up. He is a swordmaster who can tank literal demon realm waves. If anyone can bust it, it is him. Asher just smirks and says he will try. Back in the weird dungeon, the crazy master starts forcefully pumping his dark magic into Garen. The kid screams that he does not want this, but the twisted old man doesn't even blink. Crash Asher shatters the barrier like glass, shouting that the ceremony is officially cancelled. The old guy freezes, totally confused, demanding to know who crashed his party. Garen drops to the floor free. Asher glares, dropping the cold hard truth. He thought this guy was a hero, but he is actual trash. Oh, that strikes a nerve. The corrupted master snaps, roaring at him to mind his own business. Asher blocks every single frantic strike. He leaps right at the old geezer honestly, thinking this so-called master of the depths is just incredibly sad and pathetic. The villain is having a total meltdown over his dark magic getting crushed, realizing Asher is no basic swordsman. Asher fires back. There is zero chance he is letting this boomer turn the whole world into a demon hotel. But the guy is seeing red now, screaming that nobody has the right to challenge the great Crocus. He brags that his black magic makes him totally invincible, claiming he even restored his whole body with it. So what do you and I make of this? Asher nails it. He's just a traitor who sold humanity out. And the villain's only response, shut up. He blasts black magic right at our hero, bragging that this dark power shatters minds and drives people completely insane. But you and I have seen enough manhwa to know exactly how this plays out for mere humans, right? Exactly the opposite happens. Incredibly, our boy just brushes it off and counters, completely nullifying that edgy dark magic. He calmly explains that cheap tricks just do not work on him. A basic mental attack cannot shake a true swordmaster. Out of options, the old man decides to just crush him with pure brute force. Asher instantly shifts into a defensive stance. The old man unleashes an absolute barrage of attacks. Our protagonist just keeps blocking everything. Then boom, a massive explosion goes off and our boy completely vanishes. The old man walks up to Garen apologizing for showing such a twisted side of himself, hoping the kid understands. See, back in the day he lived purely on hatred for demons, totally focused on his mission to protect the world. He chose to become the agent of the depths, suffering a miserable, lonely life underground, just to keep the Empire completely safe. But the Empire, they literally erased his entire existence, claiming the rift had to stay a top secret. Worse, they branded him a massive threat, saying he was totally corrupted by the toxic air of the demon world. Despite giving them decades of absolute peace, they treated him exactly like those filthy demons. Because of that, he made his choice. There was zero reason to guard this rift anymore. He decided to wipe out these humans who were honestly worse than demons. That is exactly why he embraced black magic. He refused to pass this miserable, thankless duty down to poor Garen. With this insane dark power, he wanted Garen to finally live completely free. Now watch closely, our boy suddenly reappears, rejecting that twisted logic, leaving the old man totally shocked he survived. Asher glares right at Crocus, throwing his own words back at him, reminding him he wanted to make his parents proud and that someone had to do the dirty work. Crocus demands to know how he heard that. Asher calls him out for abandoning his core beliefs, asking if he seriously bowed to pathetic demons. The truth is, the Empire never actually abandoned him. They genuinely trusted him and secretly honored him as a true hero. He yells at him to snap out of this edgy phase and go back to being the unstoppable hero he used to be, just begging him to remember his real roots. But suddenly, the old man vanishes into thin air and a giant creepy eye spawns. It mutters that in the very end it was always him, the guy who never ever changes. Asher asks what the heck this thing is, and it casually claims to be the master of black magic, so our hero demands to know if it ruined Crocus. The eye smirks, claiming it did nothing wrong, just granted the old guy a tiny favor. I know what you were thinking, a classic demon trap. Basically, Crocus begged for dark magic, so it gave him a boost, happily promising to set him free. Honestly, it wanted to torture the old man a bit before killing him, but hey, whatever works. Consumed by absolute rage, our boy charges the giant eye, but his strike ends up hitting Crocus instead. The old man smiles, saying getting taken out by a true comrade beats dying to a monster. They just stand there locking eyes. The old man whispers a final thank you for freeing his soul, finally able to pass on in pure peace. Hearing those final words, our boy stays completely silent. Crocus says that right before dying, he just wants to know his true name. Asher sighs, saying it has been a really long time, and finally calls him the captain of the Iraq Guard. The old man gasps in pure shock, desperately asking how on earth this kid knows that. Asher smirks, revealing he is his superior officer. Even if he looks totally different now, he is still the captain. Cut back to the goblin leader staring at the portal. He notices the giant rift is collapsing, and right on cue, our totally overpowered protagonist steps out. Arena immediately asks what happened to Crocus. But Asher, he just gives her total silence. A bit later, they stand before a fresh gravestone. Arena admits that while demons messed with his head, Lord Crocus dedicated his life to the Empire, and his massive sacrifices will never be forgotten. They are actually going to build a massive monument just for him. Changing the heavy mood, she suggests they head out, mentioning that little Garen really wants to see our hero again. Just a few minutes later, the kid is completely decked out in fresh gear, stepping up as the new boss. Asher proudly calls him the official successor, and the kid awkwardly thanks them for taking the time to visit. Staring at his master's grave, Asher steps up and sincerely apologizes for how it ended. But the young man shakes his head, saying none of it was his fault. The old man tried to nuke the world with demon magic, and Garen knows deep down that was not the mentor who raised him. Instead, he is just truly grateful Asher helped restore his master's sane mind. A flashback hits. Crocus chuckles, saying he knew he recognized those crazy sword moves. Asher just looks sad, asking how a legend like him fell this far into darkness. So what do you and I take from this? Demons always prey on the broken, let's see who they target next. Stick with me, we're jumping right back in. He admitted he felt weak, just wishing he had the captain's insane strength. Boom, Garam shows up right then. The old man apologizes for past mistakes, but anyway, they're starting the succession ceremony, better late than never. Even the stubborn Garen finally accepts. Smiling warmly, the old man says meeting our hero was a true blessing, but first he needs some alone time to talk privately with his disciple. Asher casually agrees to it all, genuinely hoping they cross paths again someday. Snapping back to reality, our boy is totally zoned out. Garen sighs, admitting that overcoming those heavy emotions isn't exactly easy. The kid was looking absolutely miserable when bam, a literal demon casually strolls into the room. She cheerfully announces she brought the master's study books, freezing in pure shock the second she spots Arena and our protagonist. Arena nearly draws her sword on the spot, but the kid steps in, no panic needed. This demon is literally just his new assistant. She explains that when the rift completely sealed up, she had nowhere left to hide. But insanely enough, her master spared her life and just casually took her in. Honestly, the demon realm treated her like absolute garbage, so chilling here with her master is way better. Our boy quietly watches this whole exchange before Garam tells them to stay safe. With everything settled, they finally leave the lower castle. Arena immediately questions him. Isn't hiring a literal demon insanely dangerous? Asher shrugs it off. Sure, she's done questionable things, but she honestly lacks the power or actual malice to hurt anyone. Plus, having her stick around gives Garen some much-needed company. Honestly, he kind of has a point. Right on cue, Kane marches up with a whole squad of soldiers ready to escort our hero. Suddenly, they kneel down. Watch closely, this is where things get wild. The Grand Emperor requested him personally. Moments later, Asher bows before the Great Emperor. The ruler tells him to rise deeply, respecting his insane achievements. Turns out Asher is the only guy he trusts right now. Why? Because the so-called heroes keep mysteriously vanishing. Either way, saving the Empire deserves a massive payoff. As a token of absolute trust, he's getting a special reward. Guards haul in a heavy box, and the king declares that Asher is the perfect guy to hold this item. Asher pops it open, completely curious. Fast forward a bit, and we see what was actually inside that chest. The spirit eagerly asks what the Emperor gave him. Asher reveals the Empire's box. It's basically a legendary weapon passed down from ancient rulers. He'd heard wild rumors, but seeing it in person is a totally different story. The spirit is completely stunned that the king handed over something so priceless. Reika and Kane run up, mind-blown, that Asher actually met the guy nobody is allowed to approach. Meanwhile, our boy just sighs. He knows the time has finally come. He pulls Reika aside, saying they need to talk. Next thing we know, she's shocked he's leaving so soon. Wow, he handled that super easily. You feel that too, right? Asher admits he doesn't know when they'll reunite. He tells her to just focus on her studies for now. He's got business to handle, specifically wiping out every single thing that annoys him. The girl gently leans on our hero's shoulder, quietly begging him not to die out there. He looks back at his crew, genuinely glad he met Arena, thanking her for having his back completely. Goodbyes finished, he heads out. Reika smiles, confident that nothing bad will happen. He's an absolute beast, so obviously he'll survive any danger. Flashback time, we see the protagonist casually telling them he'll be home late, warning them to lock up the house. Arena remembers her dad marching off to war like it was nothing. That memory has haunted her since that tragic day. Jumping back, the spirit asks their destination. Asher casually replies they're heading straight to Arabia. An old friend rules that place. But rumor has it the kingdom just collapsed. Suddenly, Tarkin blocks their path. Asher notes, the guy looks free now. The goblin grins, glad he actually kept his promise. He swears he'll never forget our boy, promising they'll definitely clash again in an epic rematch. Next time, he's playing to win. Asher just smirks, he'll be ready. One final intense stare. And then the goblin leader vanishes deep into the forest. The spirit panics. Monsters are the enemy. Is he really just gonna let him walk away freely? That goblin promised not to hurt humans, keeping his warrior's word. Trust me, you'll want to see where we head next. Alright, stick with me here. As our hero strolls through the forest, Cyros watches from above, absolutely convinced this kid is hiding a massive secret. Think about it, the adopted son of the Lord of Era was a total troublemaker. Then bam, he just wakes up as a literal swordmaster overnight. An actual swordmaster even took him in as a disciple, and he immediately started pulling off legendary feats. It makes zero sense. Cyros keeps wondering how a person could possibly change that much that fast. Honestly, he has been super suspicious of our boy since the second they teamed up. He was dying to uncover his true identity, and guess what? He just dug up some very juicy information about who our main character really is. Finally, the puzzle pieces are falling into place for Cyros. Minutes later, the spirit asks about the kingdom of Gravia. Asher explains it was ruled by a legendary mage, a hero who literally saved the world with transcendental magic. After the big war, the emperor gifted him land, and he built that very kingdom. It was brighter and way more gorgeous than anywhere else. Basically an absolute paradise on Earth. But rumor has it, the kingdom eventually collapsed and the great mage just vanished completely. Did he fall like the Abyss ruler? Our boy replies that they really cannot be sure about that right now. Meanwhile, creepy hooded figures are watching them from a distance. Asher casually mentions they should just go see for themselves. Suddenly bandits ambush them, but our boy is already locked in. He instantly counterattacks, realizing these guys belong to the Modolia Guild. And, just like he predicted, they are completely obsessed followers of the goddess Marunia. Now watch closely because here is where it gets wild. The enemies step up, mocking our boy as the imperial sword brat. They order him to surrender his soul to the goddess. Asher just smirks, saying he was already hunting their fake god down and demands they take him straight to her. Oh, they did not like that. The bandits go absolutely feral, charging right at him. He dashes forward too, wiping out a huge chunk of their squad. Still, they keep coming. After laying them out, Asher grabs one of the goons. He warns them, bring Marunia here right now, unless they want a lot more pain. But the guy just laughs, saying that is never going to happen because our hero is going to die by his hands first. Asher eyes the guy, coldly realizing the real threat finally stepped up. He notes Asher's sword skills are way better now. Turns out this is the exact same guy who jumped our hero before, and he is extremely confident he will win. Suddenly, boom, a massive explosion rocks the area and a loud voice says they are blocking the path. Out steps Hebon through the smoke, totally shocked to see Asher standing there. He instantly clicks the pieces together. The Modolia goons are attacking the boy. And nobody, literally nobody, lays a hand on his precious disciple. Asher quickly tells him to hold on a second. He threatens the attacker one last time, demanding the location of their base before he dies. With the chaos paused, Hiban laughs, saying it has been a minute, but Asher has not changed one bit. Switching gears, he asks how Reika is doing. Asher nods, mentioning she is doing great, and even enrolled in the academy. Coincidentally, he is heading to the Empire too. He figures he will visit her, assuming crushing Marunia will put the Emperor in a very generous mood. Floating nearby, the spirit whispers, asking if this guy is seriously a Swordmaster. He definitely recognizes that heavy aura. Right after that, they stand before a massive gate. Hiban is genuinely surprised their base is hiding near this forest, but whatever it is, time to wipe them all out in one shot. You know what is coming next, right? A mysterious figure steps out, welcoming them to Modolia's sanctuary. Asher freezes for a second. He actually recognizes this girl, completely stunned that she is still breathing. Floating down, she smirks, telling Hiban it has been a very long time. She pulls back her hood, asking if he remembers her face. She brags that the gods gifted her an immortal body, one that completely outclasses any Swordmaster alive. Did he really think she would die? Like the guard captain, Asher mentally connects the dots. The Modolia group must be guided by divine revelation. Back in the day, Hiban and Asher actually got strict orders from the Empire to completely exterminate this exact guild. After brutally long battles, they wiped out every single member, except for one girl named Shevanath. She somehow survived the massacre. When they finally cornered her, she just vanished into thin air without a trace. Even so, her showing up right now is completely wild. She coldly tells Hiban this is not about him, but rather his beloved disciple. Asher does not hesitate for a second, sword drawn, but Hiban blocks him, insisting he is taking her down personally. They need to end this, right here, right now. Instantly, their blades violently crash together. Shevanath mocks him. Hiban promises to destroy her guild. And trust me, you and I will love seeing this. Alright, you and I are jumping straight into the chaos. Asher is actually shocked this fanatic can block his aura-infused blade. She snaps right back, telling him not to underestimate divine power. To her, they are just ignorant fools who disrespect the gods. Can a mortal really beat a supreme god? Boom, their swords slam together again. Hiban just sighs. She is way too obsessed. Then he literally activates his cheat skills and blasts the poor girl right backward. He warns her not to take him lightly, especially since she just kept running away. Does she really think relying on a god makes her invincible? Or that a literal Swordmaster is just some joke? But she sneers. The age of heroes is over. She chants a wild spell demanding they drop to their knees before true divine power. Yeah, nothing good is coming from this. Hiban yells out, asking what her plan is. Suddenly, a heavy pressure drops. He gasps, realizing he literally cannot breathe at all. The spirit explains this divine aura crushes superhuman strength. Unbelievably, it is even dragging our overpowered main character down. The fanatic is absolutely glowing with pride. How dare inferior bugs try to fight a god? She kicks Hiban so hard he goes flying. Then she walks up to Asher, telling him he should feel honored to join them. She promises a painless end, but our boy weakly mumbles something under his breath. Now watch closely. She leans in to hear him and Asher grins. He tells her she completely dropped her guard. Bam! That was the only opening he needed. The fanatic collapses in agony. Asher just shrugs, wondering how she even managed to crush Lord Hiban earlier. Because honestly, her supreme divine trick does absolutely nothing to him. Bleeding, she struggles up. She screams that it is not over, cursing the boy and claiming he is now marked by God. She promises he will suffer until he dies, and the Grand Divine will constantly make his life an absolute living hell. Asher just readies his spear and finishes her off. He says none of that matters. They messed with his destiny and hurt his people. They are going to pay a heavy price. Right then, Hiban finally snaps back to reality. He groans, totally embarrassed that such a cheap trick defeated him. Asher just tells him to rest up. Suddenly, an eerie voice echoes out. It praises Asher, calling him a human with a literal Swordmaster soul. Asher looks around, trying to find the source. He decides he needs to charge straight into the sanctuary right now. Assassins could still be hiding in the shadows, so without wasting a single second, he sprints ahead. The spirit asks what is wrong. Asher realizes even his companion did not hear that mysterious voice. That voice actually belonged to the goddess Morawina. Arriving there, an army of hooded cultists charges at him. But Asher simply summons an axe and easily slaughters the entire group. Moving deeper, the spirit detects some creepy movement just ahead. You and I both know a boss fight is coming. Asher kicks the massive door open, revealing someone on a throne. The creepy old man claps. Asher is stunned. This guy is even alive. It is Barossa, the absolute mastermind leading this entire cult. But Asher literally killed him before. The old guy smirks. This is just a stolen body. He is actually Morawina. Wait, the goddess is actually a dude. Insane. Asher glares at him. They finally meet face to face and he is ready to end this. But the god begs him to stop. He has zero intention of fighting. Why? because his powers are gone and he is totally ruined. He gave his remaining strength to his cultists just to capture Asher and they completely failed. Now he is pathetically weak, barely surviving in this fake body. Hearing this pathetic excuse, Asher demands to know if this god reincarnated him. The fake god panics, swearing he did not do it. He only managed to figure out what kind of soul Asher has. He wanted to steal it because a pure human soul at the Swordmaster tier is the only thing that can save the gods. Right then, Miria chimes in. She warns him to stay alert because plenty of other freaks want to eat his soul now. Cut to another location. Arania is drowning in paperwork at her desk, but her mind is totally focused on whether Asher is safe. Suddenly, Kimmy bursts through the doors in a panic. The Knights of the Sun God have just arrived. Outside the castle courtyard, a fancy carriage pulls up. A mysterious girl slowly steps out of it. She looks like a high-tier mage. Looking at the castle, she confirms their target is definitely hiding inside. Minutes later, she walks in smiling at Arania like an old friend. Arania glares, demanding to know why Bergia, the Sun Priestess, is trespassing here. They represent the absolute strongest religion in the Empire. This saint, a literal divine reincarnation blessed by the Sun God, leading a terrifying holy army. They are arrogant, aggressive, and ruthless. And trust me, you are going to want to see how our boy handles this crazy church next. Alright, let's dive back in. The girl mentions a wild rumor. That demons nearly wiped out the entire empire recently, but some absolute beast of a swordsman named Asher single-handedly stopped the whole disaster, asking where he went. We then cut right back to our boy, as the god literally admits that deities are completely flawed beings. They literally survive and level up purely through human faith. If humans stop believing, the gods lose all their juice and just vanish. But because Asher carries a true Swordmaster's soul, he could completely break this pathetic divine dependence on humans, letting them become totally self-sufficient, unlocking unlimited power and infinite life. Basically cutting ties with mortals forever. Honestly, what god would not crave that? Asher calls out his massive ego, depending on humans while trying to rule them. Total joke. But the man claims he previously led Marinia's cult. He literally handed them his power just to capture our hero. But those losers failed, leaving him in this pathetic shape. Asher smirks perfect karma for his arrogance and readies the finishing blow. Suddenly, the crazy old geezer starts laughing out loud, actually hyping himself up for a final showdown. Don't blink now. The ground violently shakes and this whole underground spot is suddenly collapsing around them. He screams that Asher's soul will restore his lost power, demanding he sacrifice his life to the great Marinia. But boom, out of nowhere, the old man gets blasted. Asher just stands there, totally confused. Hebon crashes the party, yelling at them to run. He flashes his insane aura, and they bust right out of that crumbling dungeon. Back in the main hall, that annoying priestess is demanding they spill every single detail they have about our guy. Hearing this nonsense, Arena immediately questions why she even wants Asher's location. Like, who knows what crazy stuff she's planning. Obviously, she completely refuses. She snaps back, asking who gave her the right to boss the empire around and disrespect a national hero, kicking her out immediately. The priestess is absolutely stunned by the rejection. Still, she awkwardly agrees to leave. After all, starting a massive war with the empire, not worth it. She walks out while Arena keeps wondering why they need Asher. The girl admits they honestly have no clue either. They are literally just blindly following the Sun God's direct orders. But make no mistake, they will hunt Asher down somehow. The Sun God's word is absolute law. Everyone clears out of the room. Let's pause right here. Why on earth is the Sun God hunting Asher? Meanwhile, a little time passes. Reika is over here dying from academy homework. She really thought she just had to swing a sword, but nope, there are endless annoying subjects to cram. Complaining about all this useless studying and hey, look at that, our boy's name is literally right there in her textbook. Right then, a sudden knock on the door. Someone says Arena summoned her, which Reika finds incredibly suspicious. After all, a private meeting with Arena, completely new. Arena admits there is a specific reason. She desperately needs more intel on Asher. She knows the Sun God can literally peek right into a person's soul, meaning that deity definitely spotted something special in our guy. She asks Reika to share anything she knows. Reika agrees but demands to know why she's so obsessed. Suddenly, a random guy just pops into the room. Arena immediately demands his identity. It's Kairos. He casually introduces himself as an underground information broker, asking if she recognizes his famous network. His secret spy group used to work for Boros, but plot twist, they exclusively serve Asher now. Reika is completely shocked. Kairos explains that Asher ordered him to track the hero down, dropping an incredibly weird side quest on them too. Naturally, Kiros got super curious about our MC too, and tells Reika to keep sharing the details. We cut back to Asher, who admits seeing Hebon's aura honestly made him question if the guy is even a real Swordmaster. Plus, Hebon had mumbled some stuff earlier that made it sound like he totally doubted his own power. Historically, Hiban's insane self-belief is what made him a swordmaster in the first place, but lately, that ironclad confidence is just totally gone for some reason. He was whining about similar stuff yesterday. Asher says his long-held suspicions are finally making sense. Honestly, he straight up doubts if Hiban is actually operating anywhere near his peak level anymore. Our boy listens to the man ramble, then flatly replies that he himself is just a weak human. Without Hiban's rescue back there, he totally would have been crushed to death underground. He argues that true sword mastery means shattering human limits, and Hiban used that exact power to save countless lives across the world. So, what do you and I think? Isn't that absolute proof he achieved true sword mastery? Alright, jump back in with me. Hiban gives his thanks, but returning to the present, Asher notes he still looks totally crushed. The spirit agrees, noting that mastering a blade means mastering yourself, while his power feels like some wild, unknown force. It's like something messed with it, creating fake energy. Getting hit by that god's aura proves his power is completely unstable right now. Plus, there's no way he earned that strength through years of brutal training like you. Asher admits he's nowhere near that tier yet. Right now, he's just a regular guy who happens to know some crazy imperial sword moves. He figures if he could just get his original power back, he'd easily smash right past this body's physical limits. Right on cue, that exact same priestess from before shows up. Cutting back to the castle, Kairos checks if she actually broke down those goblin traits and prepared a solid counterattack plan. Reika confirms, adding that even the top elders were clueless. Basically, our MC acts like a seasoned veteran from ancient wars. Kairos catches Arena spacing out and asks what's wrong, but she brushes it off completely. He's not buying it, demanding to know why she suddenly cares where the MC is. She drops a bomb the sun god is hunting him. Because of that massive red flag, they need answers fast. Meanwhile, we jump back to our boy finally meeting the priestess. I know what you're thinking, this is gonna get messy. Our hero stares, trying to figure out who this woman even is. Judging by that flashy outfit, she's definitely a priestess from the Order of the Sun God. Yeah, the MC knows his lore. He demands to know exactly what she wants. Suddenly, the girl drops her staff, grabs his hand super tight, and literally begs for help. Asher just stands there totally confused by this random encounter. A few minutes later, she finally spills the whole story. Asher clarifies so, a nearby village got raided and everyone got dragged off. She nods, terrified that dozens of farmers are about to be sold to underground traffickers. That's why she needs him. Hearing those details, Asher instantly pieces together exactly which scumbags did this. He points out she's literally a sun god priestess. Wouldn't it make way more sense to just ask the holy knights of her own massive order for backup? I mean, they are the biggest religious faction in the whole empire. Their military power is completely off the charts. But at that, the girl just goes quiet. Turns out the knights are busy with other stuff and flat out ignore her orders. Seeing she has literally zero backup, our guy sighs and decides to step in. He figures this is the perfect excuse to crush that annoying syndicate anyway. He tells her to lead the way to the base. Relieved, she jumps up, realizing she never even introduced herself. She smiles and says her name is Verkia. Walking along, Asher remembers the Sun God Order being super oppressive and arrogant. But shockingly, Verkia is actually incredibly sweet and humble. Soon enough, they spot the hideout. Asher scans the area, realizing these definitely aren't the same low-level bandits from earlier. Whatever, time to wrap this up fast. He turns to Verkia and mentions he needs one quick favor before rushing in. Meanwhile, the bad guys are just casually patrolling. Suddenly, a guard turns and spots our hero, laughing that it's just some random brat. The guards step up to Asher, mocking him and asking if he's lost. Big mistake. Without a word, our MC draws his sword and wipes out the entire front line in a single brutal slash. Did you catch that explosion? The spirit goes crazy, calling the hit legendary and asking if he finally got his aura back. Asher smirks. It's not his own aura. That massive boost was actually the divine magic from our sun god priestess. Verkia might have zero attack skills, but her healing is top tier. Plus, she can temporarily push a fighter's stats to the absolute max. Thanks to her buff, Asher is swinging with the raw power of a legendary master swordsman. Talk about an insane power-up. Totally wild. Watching the carnage, Verkia admits she knew he was strong, but this level of sheer destruction completely blew her away. Asher shrugs it off, giving all the credit to her buff. A few minutes later, we follow them deep inside a creepy cave. Asher points out this doesn't look like a standard slaver dungeon. Verkia agrees, noting it feels way more like a creepy cult temple. Right on cue, a dark shadow steps out, demanding to know who dares disrespect their holy sanctuary. The masked freak steps into the light, but our MC just readies his blade, telling him to hand over the villagers right now. Instead of backing down, the cultist claims they are actual saviors blessed by a great god. He rants about freeing the captive souls to save the whole world. Classic crazy villain logic right there, honestly. Verkia isn't having it. She doesn't care what fake god they worship. Raiding innocent towns makes them nothing more than filthy low-life bandits. Hearing her preach, the masked guy laughs, asking if a sun god priestess really has the moral high ground to judge anyone, since her group slaughtered countless citizens just for being heretics. So what do you and I make of this hypocrisy? Alright, you and I are about to watch the era of those outdated gods completely end. Torches suddenly light up everywhere, and this masked creep announces that a brand new god is about to crash into their world. Look at this, there's a literal pile of people stacked up while the crazy masked guy preaches about their true savior arriving. Both of them are absolutely horrified by the scene. Asher is totally sickened, realizing his own group actually did this to people. It's incredibly messed up. And the worst part, that masked villain just laughs, claiming sacrificing a few unlucky souls is completely necessary for ultimate salvation. Basically, he calls it a twisted reward to properly honor the gods. Then boom, massive darkness swallows the sky. The priestess spots it immediately, realizing the dark energy from the altar is shooting straight into his body. Frozen in his tracks, Asher figures it out. This entire massacre was just to summon this monstrosity. These aberrations, they are extra-dimensional nightmares that aren't even divine or demonic. They absolutely hate humanity and pack enough insane power to wipe a whole city off the map. Back in the day, some crazy cultist actually used forbidden magic to summon one, hoping to trigger the absolute downfall of the entire human race. The horrible result, Oriona's beautiful homeland, the dark elf forest, got completely wiped out. Don't blink now. You and I are about to see this huge monster transform, and the spirit says they gotta stop it fast. The craziest part, that masked guy has only absorbed a tiny fraction of power. Asher remembers fighting one of these things in his past life, and it literally took 2 entire master swordsmen just to hold the monster back. Now he's sweating, wondering if he can actually solo an aberration today. The guy suddenly morphs into a 3-meter giant, screaming about Judgment Day. He launches a massive attack, but boom, blocked. The priestess throws up a perfect shield. Classic support character coming in clutch. She yells out that she will try her best to hold the monster back somehow. Asher isn't buying it though. He knows a basic magical barrier won't last long against the raw power of a literal aberration. And yeah, anime logic strikes again, her shiny barrier shatters into pieces in literal seconds. The girl is totally stunned, but our boy Asher moves like lightning, grabbing her to desperately dodge the incoming blast. He realizes playing defense is a guaranteed game over. At this point, his only real option is to bust out that sweet divine power. He asks the priestess to buff his weapon one more time, planning to charge straight in and smash its critical weak point. She panics, screaming that it's completely suicidal, but Asher is totally locked in. He begs her for that final power buff, and left with 0 options, the girl channels her magic into his blade. Gripping his glowing weapon, he goes full throttle. He charges the dark shadow and brutally stabs his blade right into the monster's chest. But the dark energy is insane. He gets completely stuck to his sword, practically getting swallowed whole by the cursed shadows until somehow, this crazy kid defies all logic, breaks through the darkness, and slashes right through the beast. You and I both saw that coming, right? Well, even Asher can't believe he actually won. With the nightmare finally over, the exhausted priestess starts healing our boy, relieved that they actually survived this mess. He thanks her for the heals, but she immediately shakes her head, saying he is the real MVP for saving what's left of everyone. The villagers didn't make it, sadly, but Asher stopped a total global apocalypse. They take a quiet moment to pray for the lost souls, hoping they find peace. Not gonna lie, this girl is genuinely too pure. Fast forward a whole day, and the priestess realizes she never even got his real name. She asks what to call him, insisting he'll go down in history as a legendary hero of the Sun God Order. Asher almost drops his name, but instantly pivots. He plays it cool, promising to reveal it next time since he is visiting the main church soon anyway. She totally gets it, promising that from this day forward, she will never forget his face. She hands over a fancy necklace, explaining it's a holy symbol of the sun god and her personal reward for his insane bravery. It's definitely going to be a useful item. Asher thanks her, and just like that, the sweet priestess heads out on her own journey. But wait, someone suddenly calls out to her. A mysterious guy asks for a second, steps inside her tent, and immediately drops to his knees. He formally greets her as the great Saint Verkia, but she casually waves off all the stiff formalities. She coldly asks if he finished that unsanctioned little project of his. Flashing a shady smile, the guy happily confirms it is done. He brags that the commoners finally pledged absolute loyalty to the sun god, massively boosting the church's power and influence. Verkia isn't impressed. She questions the point of violently forcing religion on people, knowing damn well a ton of innocent lives were lost. So what do you and I learn here? Never trust a guy smiling about dead heretics. Stick with me here. This annoying guy is actually asking if she feels bad for inferior beings, saying she completely lacks resolve. He blames her for the Empire incident too. She couldn't get 0 info on the protagonist just because some mere guard captain intimidated her. Basically, he thinks she should have aggressively forced a straight answer out of the Empire. Nervous, she straight up asks if he seriously wanted her to start a war. Easy for him to talk about battles from a safe distance, right? Innocent citizens die. Smirking, the commander says he understands her worry for the people. After all, before getting chosen by the gods, she was literally just some ordinary girl from a tiny village. Conversation over the absolute jerk finally walks away, leaving the priestess alone to realize she is supposed to be the divine representative. But honestly, she holds zero actual power, just a country girl raised in the middle of nowhere. Then one completely random day, boom, the sun god chooses her, granting her this massive divine power. That pushed her straight to the rank of priestess. The problem, the knights are stuck-up nobles. To them, taking orders from a commoner is completely unacceptable, so they just totally ignore her, violently expanding their own twisted influence instead. They are too busy playing dirty power games, recklessly dragging innocent people into their wars to be sacrificed. Overwhelmed by all this mess, she sheds a tear. Why did God even pick her for this? If only someone reliable and brave like our protagonist was leading the Knights of the Sun God, then things would be totally different. Enough about her, let's see what our boy is up to. The spirit asks if he is seriously heading to that exact same church. No way. Maruna warned him to stay on high alert. Other gods might be hunting him down, and the sun god could easily be one. So yeah, better to just avoid that entirely. Later on, Asher steps up to a gate, calling it the entrance to the Rabia kingdom. The spirit is confused. How are they getting past a locked door? Asher just touches a random stone and boom, a secret passage slides open, a trick a legendary mage taught him apparently. That same powerful mage threw up a massive barrier around the kingdom to protect everyone. Getting in without permission, nearly impossible. But Asher is a special case. This sneaky bypass method was only ever handed down to trusted VIPs. The spirit jokes that it makes sense they call this place paradise. But right then, bam, someone attacks our boy from the shadows. A hooded girl drops in. Asher just stares her down, thinking, wait a second, she looks incredibly familiar. She glares, saying this secret passage is strictly for authorized people only. Then she demands his name, ready to fight. Ah, it finally clicks. Asher remembers exactly who she is. And right on cue, 2 more fighters crash the party. Everyone is just glaring at our protagonist. Then one of the guys suddenly recognizes Asher, shouting that he saw him back in the Empire. Yeah, they literally crossed paths at the Gate of Swords. Now watch this, because you and I know his reputation is wild. He didn't just open that gate after passing through it completely collapsed. Hearing that insane flex, the hooded girl decides he absolutely must be a demon. Weapons instantly drawn, everyone is aiming right at him. The panicked spirit asks what the plan is, since these guys are totally out for blood. Asher casually draws his sword. Guess there is no avoiding it, he will just have to deal with them, right? They are completely shocked by the crazy skill Asher drops, but whatever, they charge straight into the fight anyway. Asher effortlessly blocks the attack. He actually wonders, wasn't this guy the Academy's absolute best? His stance is okay, sure, but he is miles behind Asher's actual disciple. With one move, the guy gets launched and the hooded girl steps up. She goes aggressive, rushing our hero with some crazy water ability. She demands to know where he got that gauntlet and spatial magic. Smiling, he says it is a gift from his master named Hebon. Instantly, she backs the heck up. Hearing that name, she admits she has definitely heard the wild rumors going around. Rumor was Hebon took on a disciple in some random territory, so he must be that legendary swordsman everyone is hyping up. Smirking, Asher confirms she is totally right. Plus, his master is the one who taught him this exact secret passage. Long story short, he is just here to visit the Lord of the Rabia Kingdom. Turns out the Lord is his master's close buddy. Tension dropping, the hooded girl explains their mission. They are actually investigating why the Rabia Kingdom mysteriously fell. She introduces the squad. The guy next to her, Puan, a heavy-hitting swordsman straight out of the Ryan Kingdom. The other guy is Reuben, a historian. And finally, she introduces herself as Badri, a local mage. Asher connects the dots. He heard the Lord here had a disciple. So Badri must have learned that magic from him, and she is probably searching for her master. Shocked, he knew that Badri confirms she is the Lord's student. And trust me, you and I just watched a brand new squad form. Stick with me, guys, let's jump right in. The spirit asks how he knew, and Asher remembers seeing it as a kid. Turns out, the Archmage actually raised a little girl to be his successor. Fast forward, and she grew up into an absolutely stunning young woman. She admits she stayed far away from the Rabia Kingdom for years. Honestly, she just dreamed of living a completely free life outside those boring castle walls. Her master, basically a father. But the guy was super strict, obsessed only with magic. Naturally, that sparked way too many heated arguments between them. Because of all that drama, she eventually snuck out of the kingdom. She hid her apprentice title and just lived like a totally normal person. But time passed and crazy rumors spread that the kingdom totally collapsed. Then, pure coincidence, she bumped into our crew and decided to tag along. Pawn straight up asks why the kingdom fell apart so fast. She has zero clue. Either way, she is absolutely determined to track down her master and get real answers. Right then, the squad runs into a massive door. She points it out. Yep, that is the front gate to the Rabia kingdom. Wasting zero time, Asher steps up to go first. Could be demons or nasty monsters lurking inside. He tells the others to watch his back. The guy pushes the door open and is completely shocked by the view. The city looks totally normal. Asher is super confused, wondering if this place actually fell. They wander around and she confirms the Rabia kingdom looks exactly like it used to. But deep down, Asher feels it. A seriously heavy, threatening vibe hanging in the air. Then Pawn randomly walks up to a market stall to ask about fruit prices. But the old man, not friendly at all. The mage tries chatting with locals about the archmage, but Reuben immediately tells her to drop it. There is literally no point. Now watch closely, because things get crazy. The people here, they literally do not have their souls anymore. Asher takes one look and drops the harsh truth. They are all dead. Just endlessly repeating their daily routines from when they were alive. It is basically a giant city of walking corpses. Pawn naturally asks what the heck happened. Asher has zero clue. He has seen brutal wars and destruction, but nothing this incredibly bizarre before. Reuben chimes in explaining that the Archmage wanted to build a literal paradise on Earth. A perfect world where magic just handled every single human need. He tried building a kingdom where everyone lived in total comfort, zero stress, zero hardship, but ultimately, magic completely consumed them. They lost their minds, and eventually, their actual lives. She defends her master, saying he only wanted a utopia, but instead, the entire place crashed and burned in the most horrifying way possible. You and I know exactly how this goes. Pure arrogance. He thought his magic could outsmart the gods, and it backfired big time. Shortly after, the squad finally hits the palace. Baudry points out her master's quarters, while Reuben quickly notes the security is looking extremely tight. But Pawn, he totally ignores that. He just wants to smash through and keep moving. Suddenly, a guard sneaks up right behind him. The mage saves his life, warning them that these empty husks can still easily detect any intruders. Right now, these guards do not recognize her as the apprentice at all. They just see fresh enemies. So they instantly attack. Wasting zero time, Asher goes crazy on multiple soldiers at once. But it is insane. No matter how many times they get knocked down, these zombies just get right back up. At this rate, they will be fighting forever. But then a massive barrier suddenly pops up around the zombie army. Asher is the one casting it. Gripping his staff, he yells at everyone to sprint inside the castle immediately. He promises to hold the line. Seeing this, the spirit asks if that awesome weapon is his big reward from the Empire. Yep, it is a super rare relic from the Imperial Vault, straight from the Emperor. Basically a staff that throws up war-grade barriers to trap enemies. But come on, it is a temporary trick and definitely will not hold forever, right? The whole team books it inside without wasting a single second. And of course, with classic comedic timing, one of them completely trips. Right as the barrier completely shatters. Oh man, he immediately knows he is absolute toast. Seconds later, the crew realizes poor Reuben got left outside. The shield is totally gone by now. Asher prepares to rush back out and save him, but randomly the guy just walks in like absolutely nothing happened, casually apologizing. Escaped by the absolute skin of his teeth. I have zero idea how, but he pulled it off. The group keeps pushing through the halls, but Reuben stares at our MC totally suspicious about how he is acting right now. Trust me, you and I both know this won't end well. Especially since outside, every single soldier was completely wiped out. Back indoors, Baudry points out the central tower. That is exactly where her master's office is located. Let's jump right in. You and I are about to see if he can save the Empire. Suddenly, thick smoke fills the room. The spirit asks Asher if he feels anything off. His response, he can literally smell something rotting away. Baudry doesn't waste a single second. She sprints right through the door, only to freeze in absolute shock. Her master is already dead. She drops straight to her knees, crying her eyes out, screaming about who could do this. Everyone is just standing there in stunned silence. But then, plot twist, the skeleton actually talks, telling her to shut up. Classic Manhwa confusion. Nobody gets what's happening. The skeleton complains, asking where she's been and why she's only returning now. Baudry is totally lost. The skeleton just brushes it off, saying it's literally just an illusion. He is an archmage, guys. A trick like that is easy. Changing the subject entirely, he mentions she probably saw the ruined kingdom outside. Those residents she saw, total fakes, just decoys. The real people are completely safe, hiding down in an underground city. Hearing that, Baudry is just so relieved everyone is okay. Pan asks the obvious question, why fake the destruction of the whole kingdom? The old man casually blames the demons. A super high-ranking demon targeted the Rabia kingdom, and honestly, trying to fight that alone was just way too much. So he faked the fall. Evacuated all the citizens to buy some time, hoping he could figure out a real solution. None of that matters right now, though. He's just happy she came back, apologizing for being such a distant master. Plus, she brought some backup. Staring right at our main character, he asks if he is the student of Hebon. He tells everyone else to leave and get some rest. He needs to have a really long private chat with our boy. Once the rest of the group heads out, the vibe shifts. The skeleton looks over, saying it's been a long time. Now pay close attention here. He calls him Captain Asher, just smirks. The old man recognized him instantly. The physical body is totally different, but that soul, unmistakable. Asher doesn't hold back and straight up asks what the heck happened. It's a twisted curse linked to the power of heroes. Plot twist, he actually destroyed his own kingdom with his bare hands. So yeah, the Rabia kingdom really is gone. And on top of that absolute tragedy, he's completely turned into an undead. He only lied earlier to protect his students' feelings. He originally just wanted to be a great ruler, using magic to keep his people safe. But it totally backfired. That same magic started eating human souls, dragging the entire kingdom straight into absolute ruin. That's when it hit him. This heroic power meant to save the world. It's basically a dangerous force that guarantees total destruction. Hearing this dark truth, Asher admits Hebon had serious doubts too. He was always questioning his own strength, wondering if relying on the sword was really the right path for him. The Archmage nods. He figures our guy must have already seen what happened to all those legendary heroes from the past. Like Valbar, whose mind totally snapped, turning him straight into a demon. The Master of the Depths literally teamed up with demons to crush the Empire. I know what you're thinking if hero powers get corrupted too. Absolute disaster. We both know how bad that gets. Basically, we're talking about a global catastrophe. Way worse than a standard Demon King invasion on a totally different scale. That's the exact reason he traded his life and magic to forge this single sword. He begs Asher to take it. It's called Fenra, and get this, it actually absorbs the cursed power of heroes completely. It's the only way to finally end this tragic age of heroes. And because of that, he has one last brutal favor to ask. He wants our boy to use Fenra to end his life. Asher is literally the only person in the world he trusts for this. Asher just freezes, trying his absolute hardest to process everything. Was he really being asked to kill another close friend with his own two hands again? Heavy silence completely fills the entire room. Left with zero options, Asher whispers an apology. He drives the dagger right in, finally setting the old man free. Instantly, the magical illusion fades away. Every single drop of that corrupted energy gets sucked right into the blessed dagger. The Archmage turns back to normal. He smiles, thanks our hero, and can finally rest in absolute peace. Looking down, Asher softly asks if this is really goodbye. He nods. Tomorrow he'll say a final farewell to his student, fading away forever right alongside his fallen kingdom. But for now, he is just deeply grateful. Switching gears, he asks about Asher's reincarnation. Our hero says it's basically that. Initially, Asher thought the god Marunia pulled the strings, but it turns out that wasn't actually the direct cause behind his return. Hearing this, the Archmage smiles. He actually knows a lead that might help. Find the northern red forest elves. And that's our cue. Trust me, you'll want to see what's next. Stick with me. You and I are about to meet High Elves, an epic clan that favors humans and can literally read and heal souls. Maybe they can finally help him uncover the truth. Hearing that, Asher asks, is that not where Ravinia claims her territory? The Archmage nods. That is exactly it. He tells Asher to check on the girl while he is there, especially since northern goblins almost invaded the Empire. But honestly, our boy had absolutely zero desire to see that woman. The Archmage steps in, reminding him she is still his ally. Arrogant, sure, but definitely admirable. She willingly chose to live in that brutal wasteland just to protect humanity. He knows Asher has a good heart too. Because of that, he is absolutely certain those two will finally make up. Shortly after, the original crew hangs out in the Archmage's room, thrilled to see him back in his true form. Baudry mentions she could not find our hero anywhere. Her dad explains he already took off to handle Hebon's orders. Sadly, the old man needs to leave too, prompting Baudry to ask where. He admits demon surveillance is getting worse. Soon he will not be able to protect the kingdom. His backup plan: go into hiding in an underground city. The girl nods in understanding, asking when they will reunite. The old man goes quiet but tells her not to stress. They will not be stuck there long. Then he hands her an amulet. With this pendant, she can cast barrier magic. He smiles, hoping she becomes an elite mage someday. She is hyped about the gift. He adds that meeting her friends was a pleasure. But time is up. The kingdom is closing, so everyone needs to get out right now. Wishing his student a safe journey, she finally heads out, leaving the old man completely alone in the dark. Right then, Asher steps out of the shadows. The Archmage states his magic is transferred, his work is done. He says the guard captain should leave too. In the end, all humans turn to dust, so do not be sad. Hearing that our boy stays quiet, silently he wishes the Archmage a peaceful rest. Asher exits the castle too. Reuben simply watches it all unfold, calling it extremely tragic. A literal paradise meeting an end like this. But suddenly Asher tells him to shut up. Without warning, he strikes Reuben, demanding to know why he is still here. He calls him a filthy demon. Here is the twist we need to watch carefully. He is a demon. Laughing, he says, Asher's coldness makes sense. Honestly, the kid is sharp. He smirks, calling our boy someone who never really changes. Very perceptive, honestly. He completely masked his magic and wore that human disguise flawlessly. The spirit sensed absolutely nothing. It wonders how Asher figured it out. He knows that voice anywhere. It belongs to the exact demon who played with him and murdered Krokos. The demon decides to reintroduce himself formally. He is the supervisor of the demon realm Bafula. Asher recognizes the name, a legendary entity from the forbidden books in the Empire's underground library, written down as the literal god of the demon realm. Krokos must have studied those exact forbidden books to steal this dark magic. Pointing his blade, our hero tells him to get straight to the point. Why show up here? Chuckling, the demon claims he just wanted a peek at this so-called human paradise. What a massive letdown. It is sad they tried building a kingdom using such inferior magic. Besides that, Sword catches his eye. He would absolutely love it if Asher handed it over. It packs some insane abilities. Crushing the human kingdom would be a total breeze with it. You and I both thought he would land a hit right. Nope. He charges strikes and absolutely zero effect. Bafula simply shrugs, reminding him that he is a literal demon god. Superhuman strength and fancy skills mean nothing to him. Killing Asher would not be a problem. Boom, Asher is blasted backward as the demon opens a portal, totally done playing around today. But the boy better stay alert. Next time he is taking that sword. Until then, stay alive. The spirit frantically asks if Asher is okay. Staring at the dust, Asher just laughs. He has never felt a power gap this insanely huge. Shortly after, the spirit checks his condition again. Asher ignores it, demanding information on Bafula. So what do you and I take from this? The guy is a divine being above the Demon King, shaping their world since day one. Besides all that, alright, let's dive right back in. This guy doesn't just watch the demon world, he's spying on all worlds, and Asher realizes he already knew about the sword. He even called him the Unchanging One. Seriously, what is that even supposed to mean? The spirit guesses Bafula knows his past life. It probably means how for decades our guy never stopped grinding and perfecting his sword skills. Hearing this, Asher realizes this guy might actually be the mastermind behind everything. He might be hunting down past heroes one by one. Worse, he will probably team up with the Demon King to totally wipe out the kingdom. So, yeah, just swinging a sword won't cut it against him. To win this, Asher is going to need absolutely overwhelming next-level power. Suddenly, a massive shadow blocks the light. Asher freezes. How is this thing still alive? It is that same bandit who absorbed the aberration. He brags that a so-called great god's power wouldn't lose to a guy like him so easily. Zero hesitation. Asher instantly draws his sword. But the monster swears it won't lose twice. Bam, one punch sends our boy flying. Asher realizes he is way too exhausted from the last fight. The beast declares it is game over. It plans to take its final form and become the ultimate god of this world. Meanwhile, our hero is barely standing. Now watch closely because everything changes here. A mysterious girl suddenly appears, demanding to know what fake god is trashing her sacred domain. The monster actually has the nerve to claim it is a god, ordering her to back off. She laughs it off, asking how a filthy aberration dares to play pretend god. She tells it to get lost. Obviously, the creature completely loses its mind and charges. Instantly, the spirit senses this woman is totally dangerous. The girl doesn't even flinch. With absolute calm, she just casually strikes the monster down. One hit, it is defeated just like that. She coldly states that this is her territory, and in here her authority is absolute law. Boom, a massive explosion goes off, leaving the spirit completely speechless, wondering who she is. The girl then walks right up to our hero, gently asking if he is okay. She actually recognizes Asher's soul. He smiles, saying it has been a long time, and calls her the nameless god. She quickly figures out he was the former guard captain, totally confused about why he is walking around in this new body. Cut to the nearby soldiers. One of them hears the massive noise echoing from the forest and wonders what just exploded. Another guy points out that something huge was definitely just destroyed over there. The priestess watches from a distance, praying, our boy is over there. Without missing a beat, the commander orders his troops to pivot and march straight toward the forest. The net is closing in, and their search area for Asher is shrinking by the minute. Inside a cozy house, Asher finally catches his breath, thanking her for the insane save. The girl smiles and heads off to grab some food. The spirit is losing its mind, demanding to know how Asher knows her. She used to be a literal goddess matching Merowania sun god. Why is a deity chilling in the human world? Asher casually drops that she is the only god who ever fully descended to Earth. You and I both know gods don't just retire, right? Well, she did. She ditched her divine name, came down here, and lost all her powers to live as a human. But there is a catch. Inside this specific forest, her personal domain, she still wields absolute cheat code god powers. Later on, she sighs, saying, "Our boy has suffered way too much, losing all his past friends and now getting hunted by endless demons. Rough." Asher just nods. That is exactly it. He jokes that even dying couldn't save him from this totally miserable life, but she disagrees. In this messed up world, he is actually the most normal. His pure soul and insane achievements just make everyone else jealous. And honestly, that is exactly why she saw his true worth and chose him. Back in the day, Asher didn't even believe in gods, but he respected her. She felt the exact same connection and totally wanted him as her personal apostle. If he had said yes, he would have gained absolute god-tier power. But nope, he rejected her. Taking handed-down power just wasn't his style. And ironically, that stubborn pride is exactly why she wanted him. She had watched countless humans sell their souls for power, but Asher, he never wavered, walking his own brutal path. She teases that he has no idea how attractive that is to a deity. She leans in. Does he want to reconsider the apostle offer this time? Asher just laughs, saying she seriously has not changed one bit. But then knock knock, someone is at the door, and yep, it is the commander from earlier. The goddess casually answers the door. The soldier introduces the Solar Knights, cutting straight to the chase. "Are you hiding a guy named Asher?" She cheerfully says yes, calling our boy over. "So what do you and I make of this?" Perfect comedic timing. Let's jump right in. Hearing that our boy realizes she really should have just played dumb. But watch this. The commander flashes a smirk, draws his sword, and declares they have finally met. Naturally, the kid just panics, realizing this exact disaster was bound to happen. Suddenly, the priestess steps into the scene. Asher just watches silently. "Trust me, we are not ready."